Play ball. Play ball with Babe Ruth. Play ball with the Navy. The United States Navy brings you the adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the fabulous and immortal Babe is his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
Hello, everybody. Many of the things the big fella did, some of his most colorful feats, never got into the newspapers. But now they can be told. Right now, I'd like to tell you the inside story of a great young ball player named Dusty Cowan, who almost wrecked the Yankees, himself, and Babe Ruth. We'll bring you the exciting story of Dusty and the Babe in just a moment. But because I'm an old Navy man myself, an enlisted man in one war and a commander in another, and a sports writer in between, I know what Jackson Beck has to say to you will be highly important. So, come on in, Jack.
Okay, Steve, and thanks. Here's something for all young men between the ages of 18 and 25 to think about. Is the high cost of living getting you down? Are you getting those civilian blues? If so, then switch to Navy blues. When you wear the Navy blue, you get good pay and 3 square meals a day. In the Navy, you're secure. Every payday's sure. So if you're down, get up. Be on your way. See your Navy recruiting officer today. Now here's Steve Martin again and the adventures of Babe Ruth.
This is the story of the Babe and Dusty Cowan. Dusty wasn't his real name, of course, but by the time this program is over, you may be able to guess it. Dusty was one of the most talented rookies I ever saw, and the most hated. He was a hothead, a pop-off guy, and he lacked tact and humility. He was slated to go back to the bushes, but soon after the season opened, 2 of the outfielders came up lame, and a few weeks later, Coombs sprained his ankle. Manager Huggins was pretty desperate when he told Dusty to take over center field, and I kept my fingers crossed that nobody would get killed. The Yankees were in a losing streak, and Dusty soothed their sore tempers like a red shirt soothes a bull. Detroit knocked them down 3 days in a row, and when I walked into the clubhouse, it was like walking into a grizzly den. Sanborn, who'd pitched that third game, was exchanging a few choice remarks with Dusty, and Babe was trying...
Your batters and make with your mouth, Dusty. We'd have won that game today.
Go on, Sanborn. What you had on the ball, strictly nothing. You couldn't have beaten a kindergarten girl.
Hey, cut it out, you guys. I gave him 6 hits. Just 6 hits. And twice you popped up with 2 men on. A bingle either time would have won for me.
Who wants to win for you, you big jerk?
Now listen, Dusty. Who are you calling a jerk? Wait, Sanborn.
You were washed up 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah? Dusty, cut it out.
Yeah, try this on your piano.
What? You dirty, cut it out. Fight.
Sanborn and Dusty tangled like a couple of spitting tomcats, with only the Babe trying to separate them. The rest of the players yelled for Sanborn to give Dusty his lumps. Then Sanborn tripped over a towel and went down on the concrete floor. When he sat up, his face was twisted in pain, and he was holding his arm. And that was when the little Miller, Manager Huggins,
what's
walked
all
in.
this about? Sanborn, what's the matter with your arm? What happened?
This dirty wait a minute, San. It was just a little accident, Hug.
Accident? What do you mean, Babe?
Well, you know how it is. Dusty and San and I were sort of horsing around. San kind of slipped and fell.
I thought you had more sense, Babe. Haven't we had enough injuries this season, and now San? Holy cow, you guys will drive me nuts. Willie, get to work on San's arm. Come on, move. All of you.
We're going to the New York AC, driver. Now, look here, Babe. Why the deuce did you cover up for Dusty?
We need him on the club, Steve.
You need him like a hole in the head. That guy's a troublemaker.
He's a great natural ball player, and he plays to win. Once he gets that chip off his shoulder...
He never will. It's a permanent growth.
No, Steve. Dusty came up the hard way like I did, and a lot of other guys. He's had to fight his way every inch, and he kept on fighting when he got up to the Yankees. As soon as he finds out everybody isn't out to get him, he'll relax and he'll be okay.
Not him, Babe. No, he's a hothead. And
I was a hothead, too, when I first came up. But I cooled off and straightened out, Steve. And I've got a hunch Dusty will, too.
It was no use arguing with the big fella. He was always a softy where youngsters were concerned. But I was afraid he would get into trouble if he stuck by Dusty Cowan. And was I right? The next morning, all the papers headlined that Sanborn, the pitcher Dusty had tangled with, had dislocated his shoulder when he fell and would be out of action for a month. So when Dusty trotted out to center field that afternoon, the fans gave him the business. Especially one bull-voiced fella in the right field stand.
Bum you back to the bushes, Dusty! Who tells you can play ball? Go on, you bum bitter!
The treatment got under Dusty's skin. He struck out twice, missed a shoestring catch in the seventh, and then banged smack into a double play. You should have heard the crowd roar then.
You bum, Dusty! Why don't you break a leg? Get lost, you punk! Drop that, Dusty!
It happened then, almost faster than you could watch it. Dusty, starting out to the field after he was thrown out, suddenly swung around and charged at the stands, making for the bull-voiced heckler. And as he jumped into a field box, the babe was right behind him. He grabbed the crazy mad kid and heaved him back onto the field. Then the babe himself fell into the howling crowd. When I could see the big fella again, Huggins, several of the players, and Big Bill, the umpire, were there.
Going into the stands, are you out of your mind, babe?
I'm sorry, Hug. I lost my head, I guess. Some guy up here was riding me.
They were riding Dusty.
And they were on me, too. I saw red.
You mean you came up here to take a poke at a fan, you babe?
That's right,
No,
mister.
Bill, it was Dusty.
It wasn't. Dusty tried to stop me.
Get off the field.
Oh, no, wait.
Get off the field. Going into the stands is a serious offense. Not even you are big enough to get away with it, babe. I'm going to make a full report to the commissioner. The chances are 100 to 1 you'll be suspended from baseball.
Babe, you're crazy. Now listen to me, babe.
There's nothing to say, Steve.
There's plenty to say. The commissioner is considering your case now. He'd sure like to hang a year's suspension on you. Now, you can't take a rap like that just to save Dusty Cowan's hide.
I can take it. He can't, Steve. It would ruin him.
It'll ruin you. Your name will be mud. Oh, babe, for Pete's sake, use your head. Dusty isn't worth sacrificing yourself for. He's no good.
He's got a lot of good stuff in him. He just got off on the wrong foot, like I did when I broke in. He might have learned his lesson today.
Are you kidding? If he had an ounce of decency in him, he wouldn't stand back and let you take this bum rap for him. Oh, babe, listen to me.
Save your breath, Steve. Maybe you're right and I'm wrong. But I made my decision and I've got to see it through.
That was a long, bad night for me, the big fellow's friends, and for his thousands of fans. The suspense was terrific by game time next day because the commissioner still hadn't handed down his decision. And I can tell you we were an anxious bunch of reporters up in the press box waiting for the bad news. We knew it had to be bad. I had my eye on the telegraph waiting for the flash from the commissioner when a big roar came up from the stands. Then I looked out and I swallowed my gum. Well, the Yankees were going out to their positions, and Babe Ruth was trotting out to right field, with Dusty Cowan jogging out to center. Well, the tip-off came on the third play, when Collins of the Sox walloped one a mile into left center. Babe started back for it, but he was limping from that pile-up in the stands yesterday, and it was evident he wasn't going to make it. And then while the fans were groaning, Dusty Cowan came racing out of deep center like a scared deer, made a crazy leap into the air, speared the ball with his gloved hand, and crashed into the fence. But he was hanging on to that ball when the Babe pulled him to his feet. A couple of minutes later, the second tip-off played itself out for us on the diamond. Sewell drew a walk, and then Dusty sliced a perfect shot between first and second on the hit-and-run play. And running like a deer, again, Dusty made it into second with a hair-raising slide. Dusty was up on his feet at once. Not sullen the way he used to be, but brushing himself off and yelling at the big fella, who was walking into the batter's box by this time. You could hear him all over the stadium.
Bring me around, babe. Let the door, big boy.
The big fella laughed and shook his fist at him, and then he took a toe hold and blasted the first pitch high and far over the bleachers in center field. While the fans went crazy, we reporters beat the dash record into the Yankee dugout. We still didn't know how come the Babe and Dusty were playing. Huggins was grinning from ear to ear when we grabbed him.
What gives? What goes on here?
Come on, give us the dope hug. How come the Babe and Dusty are playing?
Well, Dusty came to me and Bill, the umpire, after the game yesterday and told us how he tried to go into the stands and how the big fella threw him out and then took the rap for him, just as I suspected.
Dusty said that?
That's right.
I can't believe it. What did the commissioner say?
He said he'd been snowed under with phone calls and telegrams from fans all over the country, begging him not to suspend the Babe. And he decided, since nobody'd been hurt and there really hadn't been any trouble, to just fine Babe and Dusty $500 each and let them play today.
Isn't that right?
Oh, by the way, how did you guys like the show those two put on this afternoon?
That was wonderful, Hog. Really
As my
good.
friend Al Jolson says, you boys ain't seen nothing yet. Am I right, Dusty?
If you say so, Babe. I mean, well, anything you say, Babe. Anything.
Well, I say this club is going to win the pennant. How about that, Mr. Popoff?
Oh, you'll call it... Well, like I said, Babe, anything you say. If you want the pennant, I'll personally get it for you.
You hear that, boys? You hear my boy, Dusty? This flag is in the bag.
Well, just in case I hadn't known before what a real nice guy Babe Ruth was, I knew it then. But the big fella was full of surprises, and he could always get into hot water right up to his neck.
Before I tell you about the time the big fella and I went hunting up in Minnesota with Dutch REAVER, the great southpaw pitcher, I want you to know that we have a very distinguished guest aboard. He's Captain Gene Tunney, retired heavyweight champion and a fine Navy man besides. Gene Tunney was a Marine in the First World War, a private. And in the Second, he was a captain in charge of the Navy's physical fitness program. Well, Gene, we're awfully glad you can be with us on the first of the adventures of Babe Ruth.
Well, Steve, thanks a lot. I can tell you that I wouldn't have missed being here for anything, because I know what the Navy has meant to me and can mean to every young American. As you know, I have spent a good part of my life advocating clean living, both mental and physical.
Yes, I do.
And I think that I can say from my inspection trips around the world that the Navy really makes it easy for young fellows to be completely fit in both ways.
That's right, Gene.
I have seen baseball games in Alaska, football games on the equator, and boxing matches the world over. I know what Navy food and Navy habits are, and I can tell you that I recommend it highly as a good way of life for America's young men. Thanks again for having me here on the first of the series you have built around Babe Ruth's life. He was a great athlete, a great competitor, and a great American.
Thank you very much, Captain Gene Tunney.
I hope all you fellows realize that what Gene Tunney says is true. As an old Navy man myself, I know that the Navy offers living advantages and sport advantages and high adventure unequaled by any other career. If you're a high school graduate and are interested in the Navy as a way of life, contact your local recruiting office. I was going to tell you about hunting with the Babe in the deep north woods, but before we got out of that wilderness, and afterwards, too, the Babe's future and mine and Dutch REAVER's were all at stake. But that's next week's story.
And a good one, too, if I know you, Steve Martin.
Thanks, Jack. Well, so long, everybody. See you next week.
This has been The Adventures of Babe Ruth, written by Ben Peter Freeman. Music by the United States Navy Band and produced by Woody Close. It has been presented by the United States Navy. Play! Play ball with Babe Ruth. Play ball with the Navy. The United States Navy brings you the adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the immortal Babe is the man who knew him so well, his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
Before we move along to the dramatic story of how the Babe saved Dutch Reaver's whole future, maybe I ought to ask, what about your future? Ever think of how the Naval Reserve could help you? Any successful man will tell you that you can't go any place without a specialized knowledge, a skill of some kind. And in the Naval Reserve, which is an entirely voluntary organization, you can be trained in one of the many naval skills. You can get knowledge. And knowledge is money, it's security, and success.
And, Steve, there's a variety of skills that can be learned. You know, the Naval Reserve, like the regular Navy, is a three-way team, operating on land, sea, and in the air. And there are numberless skills to be taught in each one of them, and taught well, so that a naval reservist can be absolute tops in a civilian job as well. Use your spare time to advantage. Join the United States Naval Reserve, your hometown Navy. Now, here's Steve Martin again, and the adventures of Babe Ruth.
This story starts in the North Woods on the opening day of the deer season. The Babe and I had driven up in his big car, and when we parked the car and started into the woods, we had plenty of company. Dutch Reaver, the Cleveland pitcher, came in right behind us.
If I'd known you were coming up here, Ruth, I'd have stayed home. You're so lucky you'll get every deer in the woods.
Oh, why don't you make another record, Dutch? I hear that lucky stuff every time I hit a home run off you. Now, let's go, Steve.
Now, wait a minute, Big Shot. There's something else I want to tell you. You're not only a no-good lucky jerk, but you're a big-mouth punk.
And get lost, will you? Let's go. Come on, Steve.
You yellow.
I never saw you take half that from anybody, Babe. How come you took it from Dutch Reaver?
I know how it is with him, Steve. He's sore because I've always been able to hit him like I owned him.
Well, sure, I know.
Besides, he's had a lot of tough luck. Sickness in his family. Big bills, you know. Well, let's forget him. We came up here for fun. Hey, look. Oh, that's a 10-point buck if I ever saw one. Wow. Wait till he hits that clearing, Steve, and then we'll let him have it.
Okay. Here he comes.
Drop him. Hey, Steve, that scream. That was a man. Come on. Holy smokes. It's on the other side of the clearing. Where is it? Oh, wait a minute. There he is, on the ground.
Babe, it's Dutch Reaver.
Hey, come on, let's get him to a doctor. How is he, Doctor? How's Dutch Reaver?
He'll be all right, Mr. Ruth.
Oh, that's great.
But he's lost the sight of his right eye.
Huh? Oh, no.
I'm sorry. The eye will look the same, but the optic nerve...
But, Doctor, can you be sure?
Babe Ruth?
Yes, Dutch.
Come in here. I want to see you.
Can we see him, Doctor?
Yes, for a minute or two. Right in here.
The doc says you're going to be okay, Dutch.
That wasn't the way you planned it, was it?
What?
You wanted to knock me off and then say I got killed in a hunting accident.
What do you say?
Now, look here, Dutch. Shut up, Martin. Sure, that's what you wanted, babe. You wouldn't fight me. You never had the guts for that. But you hated me because I showed you up for a yellow belly. And you hid in the woods and shot me.
Now, wait, Dutch, wait a minute.
So I couldn't tell the whole world that their big hero, the great Babe Ruth, is yellow.
Dutch, you're wrong.
You're crazy.
You'd better leave. He's getting too excited.
Yes. Come on, babe. Now, look, Doctor, I'm paying all Reaver's medical expenses. Now, if there's any way to save his eye, hospital, specialists, anything, shoot the works. I'll foot the bill.
It's impossible to save his eye.
Steve, listen. You too, Doctor. I want both of you to promise you won't tell a soul about Dutch's eye.
Why not?
Because if it gets out, some ball player will start dribbling those little bunts to Dutch's blind side. And when they see Dutch mess him up, the other players will have to bunt too, and they'll bunt him right out of baseball.
Babe, you don't mean you think Dutch can still play?
Well, of course he can. His arm wasn't hurt. He's got a couple of big seasons left to put himself and his family on their feet. If you fellas will keep your mouths shut.
Naturally, we promised. And when the next season rolled around, Dutch was taking his regular pitching turn for the Indians and looking as good as ever. But against the big fella, Dutch looked like Superman. And that was the strange thing, because where before the big fella used to hit Dutch like he owned him, well, now Dutch seemed to own the Babe. After a series in Cleveland where Dutch horse-collared the Babe in 2 games, I collared the big fella on the train back to New York. Babe, you've got to stop easing up on Dutch.
I'm not easing up on him, Steve.
Now, don't give me that. You're hitting all the other pitches, but when you get up against Dutch, you play dead.
I can't understand.
Now, look, Babe, this race is between us and Cleveland, which means it's between you and Dutch REAVER. Now, they're pitching Dutch against us twice in each series, and everybody knows that as you go, so go the Yankees. So if we lose the pennant, it'll be your fault.
Look, Steve, I give you my word, I'm not easing up on Dutch.
What is it, then?
I don't know. But when I get up there against him and he gives me that dirty laugh, I see his blind eye. The eye that only we know can't see. And, Steve, I keep thinking, maybe I did it. And then, well, he's got the Indian sign on me.
Dutch and the Indians kept the sign on the big fella. And when Cleveland came into New York for the final series of the season, they were leading by 1 percentage point. All they needed was an even split of the 4 games, and they were in. But the Yankees had to take 3 out of the 4 to win the flag. And then those ugly rumors started. As the whole country expected, Dutch REAVER pitched the first game and beat us. Twice, with Yankees on the bases, Babe banged into a double play. And that night, the rumors got uglier and louder. The Yankees took the second and third games, when Babe broke up each contest with a terrific home run. But then the 4th game, the big one came up. I was shaving, getting ready to go to the ballpark when the phone rang. It was my editor. He said that the Babe had benched himself, and he wanted me to hop over and check on it.
It's true, Steve. I'm going to sit this one out. I'm going to let young Myers play left field.
Oh, you're crazy, Babe. You can't do that.
Sure I can. Huggins got sick again last night. He put me in charge of the team.
But Babe, listen.
It's no use arguing, Steve. This is for the good of the team.
Now, you've got to listen to me, Babe. You've got to play today. Otherwise, people will believe you don't want to win this game.
Nuts. I know what I've got to do. It's time to go out now. See you after the game.
The Indians got a run in the very first inning. They didn't get any more, but with Dutch REAVER sharp as a razor and setting the Yanks down in order, that one Cleveland run loomed as big as a mountain. There wasn't the noise there ought to be from that huge crowd, and I knew that plenty of fans were wondering about those rumors. Then in the 7th inning, Charlie Cochran of the Sun got a phone call, and when he told me about it, I raced out of the press box and down into the tunnel to the Yankee dugout. I called the Babe out. Now, Babe, listen, I just heard this. The reporters have got it. They say the players want to bunt on REAVER, but you won't let them.
You reporters got longer ears than donkeys.
Yes, and loud typewriters, too. Don't forget that. Babe, you've got to let them bunt.
What's the matter with you, Steve? You know about Dutch's blind eye.
Sure, but
if we start bunting on him and he falls on his face, everybody will know about it. He'll never pitch another game.
Even if that's so,
It is so. And Steve, I can't do it to him.
Babe, do you realize they're saying that you want to lose this game, that the gamblers are paying you to?
Nobody will believe that story about me. Anyhow, maybe we won't lose.
You mean you're going to tell the boys to bunt?
No.
Well, then how...
Never mind. I got to get back to the game, Steve.
There was nothing more I could do, and I went upstairs feeling as if I was gone to the funeral of my best friend. It was the last of the ninth. The Yanks were still 1 run behind, and Dutch had set the first 2 men down swinging. And then... Joey Sewell smacked a liner at the Cleveland shortstop, who bobbled it, and Sewell was safe on first. The fans made a little noise then, but there wasn't much hope in them. Not with young Myers, who hadn't had a hit coming up. And then I blinked and didn't believe it when I saw that big man with the pipe stem legs walking up to the plate, swinging 3 bats. But the public address had it.
Attention, please. Number 3, Ruth, batting for
My heart was hammering against my ribs, and I wanted to call out to the big fella, but I couldn't. I was frozen. I wanted to yell to him not to try this crazy thing. If he bungled it, and the chances were 100 to 1 that he would, they'd say he put himself into the game to make sure the Yankees lost. The crowd hushed down, and not even the reporters made a sound. The big fella went for the first 2 pitches, swinging late. I could see Dutch Reaver's teeth as he laughed and called something at the babe. Then he threw 2 bad pitches, trying to get the big fella to go for them. Babe let him go. Then he fouled one. And then Dutch missed the corner for a 3rd ball. Dutch looked Babe over for a long time before the next pitch, giving him that sneering grin. And then he went into his wind-up and let fly. The big fella swung. It was as long a home run as I've ever seen, and the Yankees had won the pennant. But how had the big fella done it? Well, I asked him about it in the clubhouse when the happy players finally stopped banging him on the back. Babe, how'd you do it?
I don't know, Steve. I just knew I had to hit a homer. It was the only way I could beat Dutch and still keep his secret.
Oh, brother, that's one for the books. It's the only time in history that a pitcher won by losing a big game.
You can say that again, Martin.
Oh. Hello, Dutch. I suppose you came in here to pick a fight, huh?
No, babe. I just heard that your boys wanted to bunt on me, but you wouldn't let them.
Who told you that malarkey?
Never mind. I also know about those gambler rumors. I just want to say I had you wrong, babe. You're a pretty swell guy. Will you shake hands?
Sure. I'll tell you this right now, Dutch. The jinx you had on me is over. From here in, every time you pitch to me, duck.
I don't know whether you know it or not, but the United States Naval Reserve groups in various parts of the country have really active sports programs. In my town, the Reserve has, in the regular seasons, baseball, football, and basketball teams, and, well, I can tell you that those Navy guys are right up at the top in all the leagues.
Well, that's because they're good friends as well as teammates, isn't it, Steve?
That's right, Jack. They train, learn, and play together. Great friendships are made that way.
Of course, there's more than sports and friendships. The Naval Reserve gives you a chance to train yourself in your spare time. And training means security, and don't forget it. If you're a veteran, you'll probably go into the Naval Reserve with the same rating you held when you were discharged. If you're not, you've got plenty of chances for promotion. And on top of all that, every Naval Reservist has an opportunity to qualify for retirement benefits. You can play and learn and serve with the U.S. Naval Reserve. Join your hometown Navy. Talk it over with your Navy recruiting officer.
Next week, I hope to tell you something about the babe when he was just beginning his career in the majors. The story of how he had to learn the lesson of his life the hard way. Well, see you then.
Goodbye, Steve Martin. The Adventures of Babe Ruth is written by Ben Peter Freeman, produced by Woody Close, directed by Ronald Dawson, and is brought to you each week at this same time by the United States Navy. Play ball with Babe Ruth. Play ball with the Navy. The United States Navy brings you the adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the immortal Babe is the man who knew him so well, his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
There was a fellow called Harry the Hat, another one named Babe Ruth, and a young sports writer named Steve Martin. And there was a bit of feud which changed all of their lives. But before I tell you how the big fella and I got to be lifelong friends when he saved my job and my future, maybe we ought to think about your future, too. And I'm talking to you young fellas of 17 or more. I've been in either the regular Navy or in the reserve since I was 17, and when I tell you that Navy life is a good life, I know what I'm talking about. It's not only good, but it's productive, important. It was in the Navy that my love of sports really blossomed when I discovered that I should write about them as well as play them. And the same thing has happened to thousands of other young men. They've made lifelong friends, found their futures in their hometown Navy, the U.S. Naval Reserve. Yes, the Naval Reserve offers the opportunity to study a trade and at the same time enjoy membership in an organization that's made up of friends working and playing together, while enjoying the great privilege of helping to keep America strong. Yes, sir, find out about your hometown Navy, the U.S. Naval Reserve. If you're over 17 and want to get in on a good thing, join the United States Naval Reserve, your hometown Navy. You can do it very easily by contacting your local Navy recruiting office.
You make a lot of sense to me, Steve.
Thanks, Jack.
Incidentally, you young men will want a copy of Play Ball Around the World, the intensely interesting booklet on Navy sports, which you can get without obligation at your local Navy recruiting office. And now, back to Steve Martin and the adventures of Babe Ruth.
I was a young reporter fresh out of Iowa, and my first big chance came when the sports writer of the New York News Syndicate picked me to be Babe Ruth's personal writer. I was on top of the world when I went to the Yankee Stadium to meet the big fella. It was almost game time, and he was alone in the clubhouse with a skinny, sharp-faced character. When I opened the door, it looked like I had walked in.
I ought to piece you right in the nose. That's what I ought to do.
Let go of me, Ruth.
Next time I will, too, only there better not be any next time. Now, come on now, out you go.
Go, you big clown, or I'll...
No, you won't do anything, you dirty little punk. Now, out you go. And don't come back. That'll teach him that little cook. Hey, who are you?
Well, my name's Steve Martin. I'm with the News Syndicate.
A reporter?
That's right.
Well, what just happened isn't for publication. Get it?
Well, I was going to ask you, who was that character and what...
You mean you don't know him?
No, you see, I'm pretty new around here.
Good, then forget all about it.
But what
Forget
happened?
it, I said. Look, Martin, I've got to get out in the field, but if it's an interview you want, I'll meet you after the game.
Well, it's not exactly an interview.
Huh?
You see, I'm your new personal writer, Babe.
Huh? No, you're not. I've got a writer.
What do you mean? The syndicate just assigned me to the job.
Oh, yeah, they told me. Look, I'm sorry, kid. I had to tell him to call you off.
Why?
Well, there's a guy I worked with before, a friend of mine, see? I told the syndicate I'd kind of like to have him write my stuff.
Well, that's a dirty trick. The syndicate picked me.
Oh, don't get sore, kid. You're young yet. You'll get lots of other chances.
Don't give me that kid stuff. I'm as old as you are.
Okay. Like I said, I'm sorry. Now, I'll try to square it for you sometime. I've got to get out on the field now. So long.
Is that a big fella double-cross you, too,
Huh? Who are you?
Just call me Cully. I heard what happened in there. You know why Babe done you out of the writing job, don't you?
Sure. He wants it for a pal of his.
Uh-huh. You know who his pal is?
No, and I don't care.
Well, you ought to be in a reporter. It's Harry Bogan.
Who?
Don't you know who Harry Bogan is? Harry the Hat, they call him.
No, I don't know him. I haven't been in New York long.
No? Well, let me tell you about Harry. He used to be a big sports reporter. He had a column. In the Hat, he called it. But the trouble with Harry, he couldn't let the bottle alone. It got so bad he not only lost his column, he couldn't hold a job.
What? You mean Babe Ruth turned me down for a washed-up booze hound?
Sure he did. What does Babe care about a nice young fella like you? He wants a guy like Harry around to go carousing around with at night.
Now, wait a minute. The sports writers tell me that Babe likes to have fun, but He lives clean and keeps himself in condition.
That's a lot of baloney. Why do you suppose he's in a slump? He ain't hitting the size of his cap.
Well, any player can get in a slump once in a while.
It's on account he's up all night with Harry the Hat having himself a big time. That's why he's slumping and why the Yanks are in fourth place.
Why, I can't believe it.
I can prove it.
You can?
Yeah. If I give you the facts, will you write 'em up for the papers in your syndicate? You can show 'em up to the whole country for the kind of guy he really is. Getting a big salary and not even keeping in condition. Letting down his team and all the fans. You call that playing square?
Well, no. If what you say is true, but
I told you I'd give you the facts, didn't I? Look, kid, this is your chance to get back at that double-crosser. And not only that, when you give the papers the scoop, you'll be a big-shot reporter. You won't have to beg Babe Ruth to let you write for her.
My instinct told me not to trust Cully. But I was so burned up at the raw deal I thought Babe had given me, I didn't listen to my instinct. Losing this job and the salary boost that went with it meant I would have to postpone my wedding to the girl back home. About a week later, my editor called me into his office.
Steve, a good reporter always writes the truth. He doesn't let his personal feelings color it.
What do you mean, sir?
Ever since Babe Ruth turned you down as his personal writer, you've been taking snide cracks at him in your stories. The big fella's the greatest ball player who ever lived, and he's a grand guy.
That's what you think.
And so does everyone else who knows him.
They're wrong, and so are you, as you'll find out.
What do you mean?
I'll have a big story for you any day now. It'll knock your eyes out, and it'll wake up every fan in the country. You just wait and see. Hello.
Steve?
Yes, who's this?
This is Cully. Listen, when are you going to write that story about the big guy?
I haven't got enough proof yet, Cully.
I gave you plenty of proof.
But most of it hasn't been first-hand. I've got to see for myself.
Okay, meet me at 79th and 2nd Avenue in half an hour. I'll show you.
I met Cully that night. And an hour later, I was back at the office pounding out the story that was going to ruin Babe Ruth and make me a star reporter. I felt a little sick writing it. But the arguments Cully had given me kept running through my mind.
He's getting the biggest salary in baseball, but he ain't even keeping in condition. He's letting his team down and the fans. You call that playing square?
I finished the story and looked at the clock. There was just time enough to make the morning editions. I dropped my story on the city editor's desk and went home, feeling a little sick again, as if I'd broken a beautiful statue. When I opened my door, the phone was ringing. Hello?
Steve, this is the city desk. We just got a flash. Babe Ruth went to West Side Hospital.
What?
Hop right up there and find out about it.
I made the hospital and nothing flat. I was the first reporter there. A nurse directed me to an anteroom where I found a tall, gray-haired man.
Yes?
Oh, excuse me, Father.
It's Brother, my son, Brother Matthias.
Brother Matthias?
Yes.
Oh, you're the man who taught the babe to play ball at St. Mary's Industrial Home.
Oh, I gave him a few pointers, that's all. He was a natural ball player. Ah, poor Babe.
What happened to him, sir?
Nothing happened to him.
What? Well, then why did
a friend who was very dear to him died. Harry Bogan.
Bogan?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Harry the Hat?
They called him that. He was a wonderful man.
Oh, yeah? He was a... Well, I'm sorry.
I understand. But judge not, my son. Perhaps, had you been in his place, you would have done as he did.
What do you mean, sir?
Harry had cancer.
Cancer?
Yes, incurable cancer. But he never complained. No one even knew he had it. Except he and his doctor, Babe and I. That was why he sometimes drank, though. And why he could no longer hold a job.
Oh, the poor guy. I didn't know that he had...
He had been raised at St. Mary's, too, and he helped Babe a great deal when Babe broke into baseball. Babe never forgot it. And when he got a chance, he made Harry his personal writer. Of course, Harry did very little writing.
Who did?
Babe.
Babe?
Yeah, it was pretty hard work, too. Babe isn't an easy writer. And after a tough ball game and then trailing poor Harry around town half the night to see that nothing happened to him, well, Babe often sat up until morning writing Harry's stories for him.
So that's it. And I thought that...
I told him it was no wonder his betting average slumped.
Great Scott, what a fool I've been.
You, my son?
Yes, me. I ought to have my head examined. I ought to... Wait, what time is it?
5:40.
Oh, it's too late. The story's gone to press. The papers will be on the streets in a few minutes.
Well, what story?
The story that'll finish the big fella, and me, too.
I don't understand.
I don't know what I can do now, but I've got to get back to the office. Goodbye, Brother Matthias. You mean you didn't print my story about Babe?
No, Steve. Fortunately, we had a call from the district attorney in time.
The district
His
attorney?
men have been watching a racketeer and gambler named Cully Wilson. And the DA told me that you were seen with Nelson last night.
Well, yes. You see,
The DA wanted to know all about you. Seems that Cully Nelson tried to bribe Babe Ruth to throw a series. The big fellow threw him out in his ear, of course, and then reported the incident to the police. Well, I put two and two together and figured that Cully wanted to get back at Babe and fed you this phonus balonus about Babe being a bum. And you, being young and green, had fallen for it. So I held up the story until I could check with you. Now, was I right?
Oh, yes, sir. I don't know what to say, except... Well, I'm a sore head and a chump, and... Oh, shucks, I wish I was dead. I'll clean out my desk and go back to Iowa, sir.
Hey, not so fast, Steve Martin. Huh? I want to talk to you.
Babe! I had to tell Ruth about this, Steve.
Yeah, sure, I understand. Well, Babe, go ahead, sock me. I've got it coming.
Oh, no, I'm no dummy. If I sock you, you won't be able to work for a week. I can't stay up any more nights writing newspaper stories. I've got to sleep so I can start hitting again.
What do you mean?
What do you suppose I mean? You're my writer, aren't you?
Me?
Sure.
No, wait, Babe. You can't be serious.
Why not? Didn't you tell me that Steve here has the makings of a great sports writer?
Well, yes, but that was before...
So he made a mistake. I've made lots of them. Haven't you ever made any?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so forget it, and everybody be happy. When are you ready to come to work, Steve?
Well, by any time, I guess, Babe.
Well, right now.
But, I don't know how to say it, Babe.
Oh, forget it. I had a hunch the first time I saw you we were going to be pals. Come on now, let's you and I go get something to eat. And I'll go to sleep, and you go to work. And that's the way it's going to be from here on in. Okay?
Okay, Babe. And thanks. There's a wonderful spirit in young fellas. I had it. All you young fellas have it. You want to get ahead. You want to be somebody. To have knowledge and skill that'll bring you success and security and a feeling of accomplishment. Well, I'll tell you right now, you can get all that and more in your hometown Navy, the United States Naval Reserve. You'll make new friends. You'll be trained and trained well in any one of the many Navy skills. You'll have a chance for advancement. And by golly, if you stay with it a while, you'll be eligible for retirement pay besides. From my own experience, I know these things are true. And besides, you have that good feeling inside that you're doing something that's really worthwhile.
That's absolutely right, Steve. And remember, fellows, don't forget to get your copy of Play Ball Around the World. It's an exciting, colorful, interesting book that tells the whole story of Navy sports. And you can get it free simply by asking for it at your local Navy recruiting office. Well, Steve Martin, what have you got coming up next week?
Well, I've got a honey about a goat, Jack.
A goat?
Yeah, a goat named Sweet William who won a flag for the Yankees. See you all next week.
The Adventures of Babe Ruth is produced by Woody Close, directed by Ronald Dawson, written by Ben Freeman, and brought to you by the United States Navy. Play ball with Babe Ruth. Play ball with the Navy. The United States Navy brings you the adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the immortal Babe is the man who knew him so well, his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
In big league baseball, there have been many goats. Players who failed when the chips went down or who pulled a bonehead play to lose a World Series. But before I tell you tonight's story, I have a message for you. You may remember that on this program I've occasionally talked about the future of young men. I have because I've been through the mill myself and know the great importance of deciding right at the beginning of your career exactly where you're going. When you're dreaming of your future, picture yourself streaking across the sky in a sleek jet fighter, of making your first landing on a carrier deck. And when you walk down the street of your own hometown, you're wearing those coveted Navy wings of gold, a full-fledged naval aviator. If you qualify as a naval aviation cadet, training, adventure, and travel await you.
And there's more than that, Steve. After you've spent 2 years on active duty with the fleet, you may be selected for a lifetime career as a naval officer with all the privileges of regular Navy life.
Well, sure, Jack, and as an officer, you have the highest social and professional standing. Free medical care for yourself and family, and numerous other advantages. I don't know how much more a fella can want.
That's certainly my feeling, Steve. And if you fellows want to fly with the fleet and wear Navy wings of gold, write to NAVCAD. That's NAVCAD, NAVCAD, Washington 25, D.C. And now back to Steve Martin and the adventures of Babe Ruth.
It was late in July, and the Yankees, riddled by infield injuries, were in a bad way. I was having dinner in the hotel dining room with manager Huggins and the Babe.
When is this new shortstop? No, the kid who's been burning up the bushes. When's he going to join us, Hug?
Well, he's doing here tonight, Babe, but I'm worried. I understand he's a bit eccentric.
A screwball, you mean, Hug?
Yeah, I guess so, Steve. That might mean trouble.
I don't care how big a screwball he is. If he's a hard-hitting shortstop, he's what the doctor ordered.
Hey, what's going on? What's happening?
Hey, Steve, Hug, look. There's a goat loose in here.
A what?
A goat. Great big billy goat, see?
Holy smokes.
Get him, man. He's coming right for
I'll
us.
stop him.
No, babe, you'll get
I've got to stop him before he kills somebody.
Babe made a flying tackle, caught the goat by the horns, and went down with him. I grabbed the animal's legs and was hanging on for dear life when a skinny, sunburned guy came rushing in with a broken clothesline. We had Mr. Goat wrapped up when Henri, the head waiter, arrived.
Monsieur Huggins, this is outrage. Behold my dining room. She is wrecked.
Don't blame me, Henri. It isn't my goat.
But it is the goat of this man, this assassin with a rope. He say he is one of your baseballers.
He is not.
Sure I am, Mr. Huggins. I'm Barney Jones, your new shortstop. From Sioux Falls, you know.
What? Did you bring this goat in here?
Naturally. I couldn't come here without Sweet William.
You hear, Monsieur Huggins? He admits it.
I'm sorry about this little trouble, but Sweet William saw the bass drum on the bandstand. Whenever he sees a bass drum, he charges it.
Well, you can charge right back to Sioux Falls with him. This is a big league ball club, not a zoo. Save your breath, babe. I've got enough trouble without getting mixed up with a screwball and a goat.
I'm not a screwball.
Wait a minute, Barney. Look, Hug. Barney hit close to 400 in Sioux Falls.
401 to be exact.
I don't care.
With Sewell and Duggan and Lazare hurt, we've lost most of our power. Barney might give us just the punch we need.
Put me and Sweet William in the lineup and we'll win the pennant for you, Mr. Huggins.
Do you hear that, babe? He wants us to put his goat in the lineup. He's as nutty as a fruitcake.
You don't understand, Hug.
No, you see, Sweet William is my mascot. Since my sister gave him to me 2 months ago, no pitcher's been able to get me out. I never hit over 250 before, but now I'm hitting over 400. It's because of Sweet William.
That stopped manager Huggins. He'd been around long enough to know that ball players are the most superstitious guys in the world. And when he understood that Barney's goat didn't have to be on the field during the games, but could stay in the clubhouse, he gave in. But Babe had to agree to room with Barney and Sweet William. No other player would. Well, the next afternoon, Barney was nothing short of terrific. He banged out 4 straight hits, 2 of them doubles with the bases loaded, and the Yanks won their first game in a week. And Barney went right on being terrific. He slaughtered the Red Sox practically single-handed, and he murdered the Athletics and the Senators. The other players caught the fever. And when the Yankees finished that home stand and took to the road, they'd come all the way from 5th place to 2nd.
Well, Hug, what do you think about Barney and Sweet William now?
Oh, it's too good to last, babe. Something's bound to happen.
All that's going to happen is we're going to win the pennant again. How about that?
I'm not so sure, babe. Not only Barney, but the whole club is beginning to think that blasted goat is responsible for our winning streak. Something's sure to happen.
Oh, stop being a worrywart, Hug. Look, if I can stand it with Sweet William keeping me awake all night, you can too. Especially when it's winning a flag for you.
Hug was right. Something did happen the moment we got to Chicago. We came out of the LaSalle Street station to get into taxi cabs, and there was a parade going by on Jackson Boulevard. Well, the first thing anybody knew, Sweet William had jerked his rope out of Barney's hand and was off to the races.
He saw the bass drum in the band. Sweet William, come back here. Sweet William, come back.
All the ball players, even Huggins, dropped their suitcases and charged after that crazy goat. Sweet William made straight for the bass drum in the band, put down his head, and rammed through it. Came out on the other side and kept going with us after him. Well, the last we saw of him, he was headed south down an alley. That afternoon, Barney went hitless. And Babe, who was not only dizzy from lack of sleep, but lame from being butted by Sweet William, was horse-collared, too. The White Sox shellacked us, and they did it again the next 2 days. Huggins raved in the clubhouse.
What's the matter with you guys? You're playing like sick old men. You've lost all your spirit.
That's because I lost Sweet William, Mr. Huggins.
Shut up! Barney, you're an idiot, but the rest of you fellas ought to know better. Now, this has gone far enough.
It wouldn't be so bad if Sweet William had a good home. But he was heading right for the stockyards. He's probably a can of glue now.
Stop it, I said. Now, you saps, listen to me.
Unless something's done, Steve, this club will not only lose the pennant, it'll finish in the cellar.
I know, Babe, but what can we do? You can't carry the load yourself. You need Barney, but he's a bust without his goat.
We've got to get him a goat.
Not a goat, Sweet William. And he's either glue, like Barney says, or he's in New Mexico.
Wait a minute, I've got an idea, Steve. I'll see you later.
Late that night, Babe knocked on my door. When I opened it... What the... Babe! Is that Sweet William?
What do you think, Steve?
Well, it looks like... Well, no, this goat isn't Sweet William.
Who says it isn't?
I do. Why, this goat...
Come with me, Steve.
Huh? Where?
Right across the hall to mine and Barney's room.
Babe, it won't work.
Quiet. Barney's a city boy, not a farm boy. Barney? Barney? Where are you, Barney?
I was just packing my suitcase, babe. I'm going back to What the... Sweet William.
Uh-huh. Say howdy to your papa, Sweet William.
Hey, wait. This isn't Sweet William.
Why, sure it is, Barney.
It isn't. Sweet William has horns.
Oh. Well, you see, Barney, the people who found Sweet William the other day had to cut his horns off. He was too friendly with them.
Oh. Hey, this goat doesn't smell like Sweet William. It doesn't smell hardly at all.
Well, sure not. He just got a bath.
Oh. Well, what do you know? Sweet William is back. Oh, boy, am I sorry for those White Sox tomorrow.
I was sorry for the White Sox the next day, too, when Babe and Barney, who hit like madmen again, got through with them. And I was sorry for St. Louis and then for Detroit, when Babe and Barney waded through both those towns for a clean sweep of 8 games. We went into Cleveland and took 2 games and were tied for first place.
Oh, you Sweet William, huh, Steve?
We're living on borrowed time, Babe. Barney may be a city boy who doesn't know anything about goats, but he's going to find out.
Oh, forget it. We've got nothing to worry about.
But that was one time the big fella was wrong, because he'd overlooked a little lady called Mother Nature. There was a doubleheader the next day, and when I went to the clubhouse with the Yankees after the first game, the trainer and clubhouse man were running around like crazy. And there were 3 goats there. The phony Sweet William had given birth to 2 kids.
You fool! fooled me, Babe. It wasn't Sweet William after all. You lied to me.
Now, wait, Barney. I did it for your good, too.
It's all over. The charm is broken. Now I'll just be a Bush League ball player again.
Now, no, you won't. Listen,
Oh,
Barney.
it's no use. It's all over, I tell you. I can't hit a balloon without Sweet
Barney, come back here.
Yeah, there goes our pennant, Babe. We're finished.
Maybe not, Hug. Barney, I want you to listen to me a moment.
I forgive you, Babe.
Oh, never mind that. You're going back on the field
No,
and...
Babe, I'm through. I'm just a punk busher without Sweet William.
Oh, yeah? Look, you dummy. These last 2 weeks, while you were pounding the cover off the ball, you thought it was because Sweet William was in your corner.
Well, yeah.
But Sweet William wasn't in your corner. You were doing it by your own self. Catch on?
Well, you mean...
I mean you're a terrific ball player in your own right, Barney. The goat happened to be around when you hit your stride, so you figured he was the reason. But now you found out that wasn't so. You don't need any superstitious mumbo-jumbo to help you knock the ball out of the lot. All you need is a bat.
Well, yeah. You're right, Babe. It wasn't Sweet William. I am a big leaguer in my own right.
Sure you are, kid.
Well, what do you know?
Babe, you're wonderful. Well, what are you guys standing around for? We got another game to win today. You, Barney, get out on the field now.
Yes, sir, Hug. And I'm the boy to win it for you. Come on, gang, let's go.
And I gotta hand it to you, babe. I didn't know you were such a good psychologist.
Hey, don't give me any of those $5 words, Steve. I did it strictly from desperation.
You mean you need that World Series sugar?
I mean I needed sleep.
Oh.
Did you ever try sleeping with a goat chewing your toes all night, huh?
Thanks a lot, Steve Martin, for this amusing adventure of Babe Ruth. And you fellows who may have been dreaming of a career in aviation, think of naval aviation. In a recent survey, 95% of businessmen queried stated that the ability to fly an airplane would be a definite advantage to a young man seeking a job. That statement fits right into the Naval Aviation Cadet Program. To college men who can meet the high physical standards, the Naval Aviation Cadet Program offers an unbeatable chance to learn to fly. First, you spend about 2 years in flight training at the Navy's colorful Annapolis of the Air at Pensacola, Florida. Upon completion of that training, you're commissioned a naval officer, awarded your Navy Wings of Gold, and assigned to 2 years on active flight duty. Later, your Navy flying experience, the best in the world, will be valuable in civilian life. For full details, for the new illustrated booklet, Wear Navy Wings of Gold, write to NAVCAD. That's NAVCAD, NAVCAD, Washington 25, D.C. And if you're interested, as most young fellows are, in the Navy's great sports program, stop in at your local Navy recruiting office and ask for your free copy of the colorful and interesting booklet, Play Ball Around the World. What's on deck for next week, Steve Martin?
Well, Jack, next week I've got an exciting story of the time that the big fella and Eddie the bad boy tangled with a Chicago gangster. Brother, that was something.
Sounds terrific, Steve, and we'll all be listening. The Adventures of Babe Ruth is written by Ben Freeman, produced by Woody Close, directed by Ronald Dawson, and presented by the United States Navy. Play ball with Babe Ruth. Play ball with the Navy. The United States Navy brings you the adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the immortal Babe is the man who knew him so well, his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
One of Babe Ruth's most exciting adventures took place when I was at sea on Navy maneuvers. Eddie, who was the Yankees' bat boy at the time, is going to tell you how the big fella risked his life against a tough Chicago hoodlum. But before you meet Eddie, I know you'll be interested in a short message from Jackson Beck. Come in, Jack.
Well, Steve, a few minutes ago before the show, you and Gardner Malloy, the tennis star who's our guest today, were yarning about some of the strange and wonderful places you've been with the Navy. Why not tell everybody?
Sure, Jack. It's not unusual for any Navy man to have been around the world a couple of times. If you're an American, the chances are you've got some red-blooded love of adventure in you. And a yen for the strange, exotic cities of the world. Shanghai, Stockholm, Ceylon, and Rome. And rolling down to Rio with a great ship under you and the infinite sky above. Gibraltar, Burma, London, and Paris. Bullfights in Lisbon, the pyramids in Egypt, the temples of Rangoon. Those are the things that a Navy man sees free. Believe me, that's the life for a young fellow. And you can make it one of the finest careers in the world, too. For there's more than just fun and travel in the Navy. There's education, the chance to be a specialist in one of the many Navy skills. There's fast advancement, too, and the security that everyone wants. For under the Navy's liberal retirement plan, you're guaranteed a lifetime income.
Sounds good to me, Steve.
It is good, Jack. Very good indeed. And if you're a young man over 17, be sure to get all the details at your nearest Navy recruiting office.
And now here's Eddie, the Yankees bat boy, and the adventures of Babe Ruth.
I was late getting into the clubhouse with my bats one day, and all the players were gone. Except Babe. He was across the room rummaging through a trunk. And I noticed a little kid in front of his locker.
I got an extra fielder's glove you can have, Jackie. And maybe a baseball cap, too. How's that?
Oh, gee, thanks, Babe.
Hey, what did you just take out of the Babe's locker, kid?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you. Give me what you took out of his locker.
I didn't take nothing. Let me go.
I saw you. Give me what you took out of the Babe's locker.
Let me go. You hurt me, you
dirty little thief. Give me it. Come on, hand it over.
What's going on here? Eddie, cut it out.
I'll fix this little...
Cut it out, I said, and I'll let him go. Oh, what's the idea of jumping this little guy, Eddie?
This is the idea, Babe. Here. Look what he swiped out of your locker.
That's my World Series watch.
Uh-huh.
Jackie, did you try to steal my watch?
I didn't want to, Babe, honest. But...
You were walking in your sleep, huh?
Lay off, Eddie. Go on, son.
Oh, now, look, Babe. You don't want to listen to a phony sob story. This is a bad, no-good kid.
There aren't any bad kids, Eddie. Some of them just get wrong ideas sometimes. Now, come on, Jackie. Stop crying. Tell me why you stole my watch.
Well, it was on account of Duke. This big boy. He makes all new kids in the neighborhood pay him $10, or else he beats them up. I couldn't get any $10, so he said I had to come in here and steal a watch. Or he'd beat me up, so I'd have to go to the hospital.
Ah, that's a lot of baloney.
It isn't.
We're going to find out if it is or not. Look, Jackie, where is this Duke character?
He's waiting for me outside in his car, but...
Okay, let's go out and see him.
No, Babe, if he knows I squealed, oh, he'll kill me.
Oh, no, he won't.
Well, there he goes. That was Duke. He saw us, Babe.
Hey, that guy looks even bigger than you, Babe.
He used to be a professional fighter. Oh, gosh, now he knows I squealed on him.
Don't be afraid, Jackie. He won't bother you anymore.
He will.
He won't. Now he knows I'm behind you. But just in case he does, you get in touch with me right away. Understand? Wherever I am.
The big fella didn't know what he was letting himself in for when he told Jackie that, and neither did I. But we found out the next day at the ballpark. We were trailing the White Sox by 1 run in the 8th inning when Combs worked the pitcher for a pass, and Sewell singled. Babe fouled one off and broke his bat. He came back to the dugout for another bat when one of the clubhouse attendants came running up to him and said something to him. Well, the next thing we knew, the big fella dropped his bat and started through the dugout to the tunnel. Manager Huggins tried to stop him.
Hey, where are you going? Babe, come back here. Babe! Hey, where are you?
Babe, wait for me. Where are you going?
Get my car, Eddie. Duke's got Jackie.
What? Where?
In an old car barn. Some friend of Jackie's phoned for me. Duke said he was going to kill the kid.
We tore up 39th Street in the big fella's car and pulled up behind some boarded-up car barns. Duke's red roadster was there. We piled into those big, half-dark barns and saw 2 husky kids, each holding one of little Jackie's arms. Duke was standing in front of Jackie, and he had a lead pipe in his hand. And Duke was saying...
Take my advice, will you? I told you I'd get you, a little punk. Squeal on me, will you?
Don't hit me, Duke.
I'm gonna fix you good.
Let him alone, Duke.
Hold that.
Babe, it's Babe.
Babe Ruth, I'm getting out of here. Yeah, me too.
Hey, come back here, you guys.
No, let him go, Eddie. Duke here's the one we want. Now, look, Duke, I warned you.
I'll teach you to keep your nose out of my business, Ruth. Like this.
Babe, look out.
How do you like it, big shot? Take this.
Babe.
And this.
Babe. Oh, my gosh. The big fella was down on one knee, and there was blood on his forehead. I jumped in, and Duke hit me across the face with the lead pipe, sending me reeling. Then he was standing over Babe again, slugging him. But in a minute, the big fella was up and fighting for his life. He worked his way in, let fly, and Duke was down. He got right up, and Babe dropped him again. Duke had trouble getting up. When he finally made it, he could hardly raise his hands. He was ripe for the kill.
Send him to Dreamland, Babe.
Let him have it, Babe. The old KO.
No, boys. He's had enough. Am I right, Duke?
Yeah, no.
Nuts to that, Babe. He wasn't going to let Jackie off that easy.
Oh, I never hit a man when he's down, Eddie. Anyhow, I don't think Duke will cause Jackie any more trouble. Or any other youngster either. How about it, Duke?
Well, I don't...
You see, boys, Duke just had to learn you can't push people around and figure to get away with it because you're big and tough. It's not only bad sportsmanship, it's dumb. Somebody just as big as you is bound to show up someday and cut you down to your right size. Now, let's go now, Eddie. Come on, Jackie.
Wait, Babe.
Ain't you gonna have me pinched?
No, Duke. Maybe I ought to, but I got a hunch you learned your lesson today. If I'm wrong, well, you'll just get in a worse jam and the law will catch up with you. Let's get the car and get back to the park, boys. There's a ball game going on.
You must have gone soft in the head letting that Duke character go, Babe. Don't give me that baloney about his learning his lesson.
I think he did, Eddie. But I had another reason.
Yeah? What?
Jackie. If we had Duke arrested, there'd be a trial. That stuff about Jackie trying to steal my watch would have to come out. And Duke might deny he forced Jackie to do it.
Well, sure he'd deny it.
Well, that's just it. Jackie couldn't prove Duke did force him, and plenty of people would believe Jackie was a thief. He might even draw a reform school stretch.
Say, that's right, Babe, but
That's
still...
why I made Jackie promise to keep quiet about what happened today. And I want you to promise the same thing, Eddie.
Well, sure, if you say so, Babe.
That's my boy. Now, if only... Uh-oh.
What now?
I can see the scoreboard from here. The game's over, and we lost.
Oh, no!
Oh, yeah. Well, here's where we face the music for running out on the game.
You mean, Babe, you refuse to tell me why you walked out on the game today?
Well, I can't, Hug. I wish I could, but... Well, I just can't.
Okay, then. Turn in your uniform.
What?
Oh, no. You committed the one unpardonable sin of a ball player, walking out on a game and on his team. Not even the great Babe Ruth can get away with that.
Oh, but...
You're
Hug,
through, Babe. Finished. Washed up. That goes for you, too, Eddie. You're both no longer Yankees.
The newspaper headlines the next morning were a foot high. Babe Ruth fired from the Yankees. Reporters practically broke down the door of his hotel room in Chicago, but he wouldn't let them in. I pleaded with him to give out the real story, but he wouldn't.
I told you, Eddie, if I talk, Duke will be arrested. And Jackie, too. And both their lives will be ruined.
Oh, now, don't tell me you care what happens to that no-good Duke character.
Well, call me a dope if you want to, but I still say there are no bad kids, Eddie. Only good kids with wrong ideas.
Here we go again.
Babe, let me in. Babe!
Hey, Babe. It's the miller at the door. It's Huggins.
Don't let him in. Or anybody else.
But, Babe, we've got
No,
him.
Eddie. No.
Well, it's
No, none of you reporters get in. Just Huggins. Hurry up, Hug.
Babe, you stupid son of a gun.
Now, hold it, Hug. You already called me enough names.
I'm going to call you a lot more. You're not only stupid, stubborn, thick-headed, and ridiculous.
Oh, now, hold on.
But you're also the finest, swellest, greatest guy I ever knew. Put it there, babe, and show me there's no hard feelings.
But
What goes on here?
I got the whole story just a little while ago. You were standing by that little kid, and why you left the game the other day.
Wait, Hug, you mean that little dummy Jackie talked just to help me?
Well, he must have.
Jackie? Who's Jackie?
Say, where did you get the story?
Why, from Parker.
Parker?
Who's Parker?
Are you guys trying to kid me?
Well, no, not at all.
I don't know any Parker.
Well, I don't get this, but wait a minute. Come in here, Parker. No, just Parker. There he is. Now, what in the world
Hey,
is...
Duke.
It's Duke.
Hello, Mr. Ruth.
It's not Mr. Ruth, it's Babe. And what do you mean opening your big mouth? What do you think I kept mine shut for?
I know why. Give me a break, but...
Not only you, it was Jackie, too. I don't want his name dirtied
Now,
up.
take it easy. I didn't give out his name to Mr. Huggins, and I'm not gonna. I just told him what happened. I said I might be a heel, but I'm not so big a heel I can keep my trap shut and let you take the rap for me when... Well, after what you did for me, not turning me in and talking to me like I wasn't just a punk.
I must be dreaming.
Oh, you're not a punk, Duke. You're okay now.
Holy cats, it's 2:10. The game starts in 20 minutes. You're going to play today, babe, and get us back in the race for the pennant.
Oh, am I going to play today? Tell him, Eddie.
I haven't got time. I got to get to the park and sell those Sox pitchers some life insurance. Oh, they're going to need it today. The night we left Chicago after we said goodbye to Jackie and Duke, I was on the observation platform with Babe. The big fella kind of chuckles a little and says to me...
You see what I mean, Eddie?
About what, Babe?
About bad kids.
There aren't any bad kids, Babe. Good kids just pick up some bad ideas sometimes, but show them how to read the score and they'll straighten out okay.
You know, Eddie, I think you got something there.
Our guest is Gardner Malloy, who has been national doubles champion for 4 years and was a member of the Davis Cup team for 3 successive years. Much more than all that, Gardner Malloy was a skipper of an LST in the amphibious forces in the Mediterranean during the war and is the veteran of 5 beachhead landings. As an old and experienced Navy man, as well as one of America's great tennis players, he has a few things to say.
I went into the Navy's V7 course just after the war started and spent 4 rich, full years as a Navy man. And I think I can say from my own experience that it is a full life. And with plenty of athletics, too. Of course, I didn't play as much tennis during the war years as I have since or before, but I still played enough and learned plenty, too, in the very field in which I was interested, executive work. Life aboard ship is really pretty wonderful. You get to see the world, you have adventure, and you know all the time that you're getting paid perhaps even better than you might in civilian life. I can recommend the Navy as a lifetime career and do it in very definite terms because I not only know from my own experience, but I've seen what it has done for other young men. As a matter of fact, my tennis coach, Slim Harbit of Miami, who was in the Navy too, incidentally, has often remarked that a lot of my present physical fitness is due to my strenuous Navy background. I really think, and I honestly say this, that the Navy is a great life.
Thanks very much, Gardner Malloy. I think a lot of America's young men will accept your recommendation that Navy life is a good life.
Steve, I think a lot of them, too, will want a copy of that colorful, interesting book on Navy sports. It's called Play Ball Around the World. And anybody can get it free simply by asking for it at the nearby Navy recruiting office. Now, Steve, what story have you got for us next week?
Well, next week, Jack, I'm going to tell you about a beanball pitcher who tried to finish Babe Ruth and brought about the most sensational exploit in the big fella's career.
Sounds great, Steve, and we'll all be listening. The Adventures of Babe Ruth is written by Ben Freeman, produced by Woody Close, directed by Ronald Dawson, and presented by the United States Navy.
Play ball! Play ball with Babe Ruth. Play ball with the Navy.
The United States Navy brings you the Adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the immortal Babe is the man who knew him so well, his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
A list of the big fella's records is as long as your arm. But one of the most sensational exploits which changed several lives and determined a pennant doesn't appear in the routine records. But before bringing you today's exciting story, I have a message for you. Now that high schools all over the country are opening up again, I know that a lot of you fellows who graduated last spring and aren't going to be back are feeling a little lost right now. You'll be wanting to meet some new companions, make new friends. Well, you can get it, fellows, in the U.S. Naval Reserve, which is your hometown Navy. You'll find there a swell bunch of fellows, your own age, working and playing together and learning together. Think of the fun to be had and the knowledge to be gained in the Air Reserve, for instance.
Right, Steve. A fellow might learn engine repair if he wants to, or electronics, or photography, or any one of the many other Navy skills.
And what's more, Jack, he can learn them well, for the Navy takes pride in the thoroughness of its training.
As a commander, you ought to know, Steve.
I do know. The United States Naval Reserve is the finest possible place for a young chap to spend his spare time, his evenings and weekends, and his vacation.
Well, sure. In the Naval Reserve, you're part of a team that's actively working and playing together, and getting paid for it in more ways than one. Join your hometown Navy, the United States Naval Reserve. Visit your local Navy recruiting office now. And now, back to Steve Martin and the adventures of Babe Ruth.
Some time ago, I told you how a star Yankee pitcher, whom I call Chick Foster, almost wrecked the careers of Babe Ruth and manager Miller Huggins. Chick was traded off the Yankees that winter, and he popped off that this was one deal the Yankees would regret. In the first game between Chick's team and the Yankees the next season, Chick was pitching. And right off, the Yankee batters began falling to the ground, then scrambling up and yelling at Chick. Babe, who'd turned his ankle slightly, was watching the game with me from the press box, and he was fuming.
Chick's throwing in our boy's head, Steve.
Oh, no, Babe. He's just a little wild today.
Wild, my eye. He's dusting him off on purpose. Unless he stops, somebody's going to get hurt.
In the fifth inning, Bob Russell, the Yank outfielder and Babe's particular pal, came up. He crowded the plate the way he always did, and the big fella hollered at him.
Watch yourself, Russ. Don't let him hit you.
Relax, Babe. Not even Chick would deliberately bean a man.
You don't know him like I do, Steve. He hates Russ because he's my buddy. Russ, look out! Chick, get it. He beat Russ. Come on, Steve, let me out.
Bob Russell was lying motionless on the ground where he had fallen like a log when Chick's fastball hit him in the head. The players from both clubs rushed out to him, and I followed Babe from the press box. The big fellow was raving like a madman when we got to the clubhouse and discovered that Russell had been taken to the hospital. We rushed to the hospital and found manager...
How is he, Hug? How's Russ?
Still unconscious, Babe. His skull was fractured.
Oh, no.
Russ is a fine athlete, though, and while it's too early to tell for sure, the doctors think he'll pull through.
Thank him for that.
He won't play any more ball this season, though. Maybe he won't ever play again.
What?
What's that, Hug? Yeah, it's a tough break, all right, for Russ and the Yankees.
Hug, Chick beamed him on purpose.
Now, wait a minute, Babe. That's a serious accusation, and we can't prove it.
Well, Chick may be a loss, but I don't think
he did it on purpose, I tell you. He hates you and me, Hug, because we spiked his wagon last year when he had it all framed to steal your job as manager. And he hates Russ because he's my pal and stood by us.
Yeah, but, Babe,
I don't mean Chick tried to kill Russ, but he meant to nick him and make him and all the rest of us plate shy. Chick wants to beat us out of the pennant, but this time he went too far, and he's going to hear from me.
Wait a minute, hey, Babe, come on, Babe, come here. Babe, come on. Hey, where are you going?
I want to talk to you, Chick.
Oh, hiya, Babe. Sorry about that accident to Russ.
It wasn't an accident.
But I understand he's out of danger. What did you just say?
I said it wasn't an accident. You threw right at his head.
Why, you're crazy. My fastball was taken off on me today. I couldn't control it.
You're a liar, Chick.
What? Why, you...
And you're a yellow dog. Nobody but a yellow dog would throw a beanball.
You're asking for it, big noise.
You bet I am. Like this. Here, I show you. All right, let's go.
The big fella and Chick tangled like a couple of grizzlies with no holds barred. It was then when Chick's manager and I tried to break them apart that I saw Landis, the white-maned commissioner of baseball himself, stalk in. When the players saw him, they all jumped in and pried Chick and the big fellow apart. When the commissioner faced Babe, you could have heard a pin drop.
You came into the opposition's clubhouse of your own free will, Babe?
Yes, that's right, Mr. Commissioner.
You started this fight?
Well, yes, I guess I did.
You're darn tootin' you did. He accused me of beating Bob Russell on purpose, Mr. Commissioner, and then he slugged me.
I want to see you and your manager about the accident later, Foster.
It wasn't an accident.
That's for me to determine, Babe. You took the law into your own hands on property under the jurisdiction of organized baseball. I am suspending you for 1 month without pay and fining you $1,000. I'll see you later.
You must be out of your mind, Babe, going into the clubhouse after Chick.
I saw red, Hug. But I also wanted Chick to know that I was onto him before he beaned another Yankee player.
Chick's a rat. He knows we can't prove he threw a duster at Russ. So you played right into his hands.
I know that now. I'm sorry, Hug.
Fat lot of good that does us. Russ is out of the lineup, and you're out for a month. How are we going to win the pennant now?
We're not licked yet.
Oh, we haven't got a prayer. Chick cooked our goose just as he said he would, and you cooked mine. Huh? So long, sucker.
In a month, when Babe finished sweating out his suspension and got back in the lineup, the Yanks started to climb. With the big fella's bat wrecking the opposition and Gehrig, Dickey, and Lazari swinging right with him, the Yanks burned their way through the league. By Labor Day, they were challenging Chick's team. The two clubs fought it out down the stretch with a dozen rhubarbs and fistfights every time they met, and they came to the wire neck and neck. A single game, a playoff of one that was rained out earlier in the season, would decide the pennant. There wasn't an empty seat in the park by game time, and the roofs of buildings around the park were black with fans. In the Yankee clubhouse, Huggins said only one thing to the players.
All right, I don't have to tell you that Chick Foster's pitching against us today. He's been a fairly good boy since he beaned Russ, and he wants to win this one and show us up. So watch out for your heads.
Can I say a few words, Hug?
Sure. Go ahead, Babe.
Listen, you guys. What Hug didn't tell you is that his job is riding on this game today. Yeah. And there's something else. Chances are Bob Russell will never play another game of ball. He's got a wife and 2 kids. His share of the World Series pot, if we win today and get into the series, will make a lot of difference. What do you say?
All right, come on out.
Now you're talking. Let's go.
The Yankees charged out on the field with fire in their eyes, but Chick banked those fires in a hurry. He drove them back from the plate with his high close one, and then he worked the outside corners. If the Yanks moved in again, they got Chick's duster ball at their heads. The only hit off Chick in 4 innings was a screamer through the box, which the big fella drove at him. If Chick hadn't managed to jump aside, it would have taken a leg off. He swore at Babe, and that started another rhubarb. The umpires had to threaten to clear the field. At the end of the 6th inning, the opposition was ahead 2-0. I said to Bill Feely of the Grove, it looks bad for our side, Bill.
Yeah, Chick's got the Yankees scared. They keep remembering what happened to poor Bob Russell. Can't blame them.
No. Well, it looks like Chick is one out after all.
Yeah.
Not even the big fella can lick him. I was thinking of poor Bob Russell, who wasn't going to get a World Series payoff, and of poor Hug, who was going to be out in the alley. And I hardly noticed when Earl Coombs scratched an infield hit. Sewell went out, and that brought up the big fella. Babe stood at the plate and didn't move his bat off his shoulder through the first 5 pitches. He deliberately let it go to 3-2. And then, with Chick showing Babe a big sneering grin, the big fella suddenly stepped out of the batter's box and leveled his hand, pointing to the distant center field bleachers. His meaning was clear, but if it wasn't, none of the fans who'd hushed down could miss knowing that the big fella was calling his shot, because you could hear him now all over the park.
All right, Chick, you yellow pup. Get the ball anywhere near my bat, and I'll park it in those bleachers.
And then the ball came, with everything Chick had behind it, and it rocketed straight for Babe's head. But the big fellow was obviously waiting the duster, because he stepped back as Chick was letting the ball go. Then he swung.
Babe did it! He parked it in the center field bleachers just like he said he would. Steve, that's the greatest thing I ever saw.
Me too, Bill. Me too. It was the enemy park, but I think every fan in the place got to his feet and gave the babe a hand as the big fella trotted around the bases, a big smile on his face for Chick. And Chick, his hands on his hips and his mouth open, looked as if the roof had just fallen in on him. Then I made a prediction. Now watch those Yankees go to work on Chick, Bill, and finish the job the big fella started. The big fella had called his shot correctly, and now I hit the jackpot, too. With all fear out of their hearts, the Yanks fell on Chick like they'd just bought him. And they murdered him. Before the opposition could get another pitcher warmed up and thumb Chick out of there, the Yankees were leading 8-2. And that was the way the game ended. And the big fella and his boys were in the World Series again. Oh, babe, it was wonderful. Marvelous. How'd you ever call that home run?
Steve, there was nothing to it. I said to myself, look, George, you've hit a few hundred home runs. You ought to be able to belt one more for Russ and Hug. So when Chick laid that old apple up there, I just took a poke at it, and, well, that's all there's to it.
Yes, but you hit it exactly where you said you would. How the
yeah. Well, that's my secret, Steve. Someday, when I retire, I'll tell you all about it.
So ends this adventure of Babe Ruth. But there's still adventure for you young men of America in your hometown Navy, the United States Naval Reserve.
You know, Jack, those words, the United States Naval Reserve, should give all you young men something to think about. Even if you live in a landlocked inland town and have never seen the sea, you can experience the thrill of Navy life. You can study one of the many important Navy trades or skills. You'll have fun and make new friends and the satisfaction of playing and working at something important together. If you join the U.S. Naval Reserve.
And, Steve, the thrills and adventures of that 2 weeks training period which many naval reservists enjoy each year. Yes, in the Naval Reserve there are thrills to be had and skills to be learned or kept up. And if you're a veteran, the Naval Reserve offers you the opportunity to keep your hand in your own trade or skill. For training, education, good companions, fun, and relaxation, and many other good reasons, join the United States Naval Reserve. Drop in at your local Navy recruiting office today. The friendly officer in charge will tell you how you can profitably spend your spare time in your hometown peacetime Navy, the United States Naval Reserve. Now, Steve, what does the log say we're to hear next week?
Well, Jack, I'm going to tell you how a young girl named Susie changed the whole complexion of the World Series with unusual results.
The Adventures of Babe Ruth is written by Ben Freeman, produced by Woody Close, directed by Ronald Dawson, and presented by the United States Navy. Play ball with Babe Ruth. Play ball with the Navy. The United States Navy brings you the adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the immortal Babe is the man who knew him so well, his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
It was the 7th game of the World Series. The score was tied, and Babe Ruth was at bat. A home run would win the series for the Yankees and new laurels for the big fella. But I sat there praying that he would strike out and so save his life. We'll bring you the exciting story in just a moment. But first, a short but important message from Jackson Beck. Come in, Jack.
Okay, Steve, and thanks. Before Steve Martin gets started with this particular exciting adventure of Babe Ruth, I'd like to remind you young fellows that there's an important place for you in your hometown Navy, the United States Naval Reserve. If you're sort of at loose ends now that you're out of high school and your friends have drifted away, if you want companionship with a great bunch of fellows all interested in the same thing, If you want to be thoroughly trained in a valuable skill, the Naval Reserve is the place for you. You see, this great hometown Navy of ours, the Naval Reserve, is a completely volunteer organization where good friends meet in their spare time, on weekends and on vacations, to study and work and play together. They're trained in such things as photography, welding, engine repair, diesel engines, electronics, in any one of the many Navy skills. And because the Navy believes in perfect training, the skill learned could well take you to the top in civilian life in a time when high specialization means high success.
You know, Jack, one of the things I like best about the Naval Reserve is the sports program.
Yes, Steve, sports are very important to men of the Navy.
You bet. And I don't mind telling you it's developing some of the greatest amateur teams in the country, in every branch of sport.
Well, the Navy Reserve fellows study together, work together. Why shouldn't they play well together? Particularly when they're all so full of that wonderful Navy spirit. Look, fellows, if you're not in the Naval Reserve, you ought to be. Join your hometown Navy, the United States Naval Reserve. It will pay you to see your local Navy recruiting officer soon. And now, back to Steve Martin and the adventures of Babe Ruth.
It was the last game of the season, and all of the Yankees were on the field except one. The greatest Yankee of them all was mysteriously missing. And in the clubhouse, little manager Huggins was having a fit. I was worried.
Thing. How do you like that, Steve? The game starts in a minute and the babe isn't here.
Gee, I hope nothing happened to him, Hug.
What could happen to him? He's out having a good time.
Oh, no, Hug. The big fellow wouldn't miss a game on purpose, especially with the World Series starting tomorrow.
That's just it. The series starts tomorrow, so he figures today's game isn't important, even though the stands are jammed with fans who want to see him belt one. That guy is getting too big for his britches.
Now, you're wrong, Hug. Babe wouldn't deliberately miss a game. He'd rather play ball than eat.
Then where is he?
I wish I knew. I'm worried.
Well, the big fella's the guy who ought to be worried. I'll blister his ears plenty when he shows up, and then some. You can tell him that. Well, I've got to get down to the field.
I waited a while and then went up to the press box. All through the game, I kept my eye on the Yankee dugout, but the big fella didn't appear. When the game was over and I followed the Yankees back to the clubhouse, Babe still hadn't shown up. I was getting worried for real. And Manager Huggins' face was as black as a thundercloud when the big fella walked in. The Babe's clothes were torn, his face was cut and bruised, and his knuckles were skinned. Huggins looked him up and down, and the players got quiet.
So you finally decided to drop in and pay us a visit, huh, Babe?
I'm sorry I missed the game, Hug, but...
But what?
Well, I couldn't make it.
Oh, you were having too much fun brawling with your bum friends, huh?
My friends aren't bums. Anyhow, I wasn't with my friends.
Well, who were you fighting with?
Never mind.
Never mind?
Look, I wish I could tell you, Hug, but I can't.
Oh, you can't, huh? Well, I can tell you something, Mr. Big Shot. First off, I'm fining you $500.
Huh? No, wait a minute.
And if the World Series wasn't starting tomorrow, I'd fire you off the team. Now, you get this. No one man, not even Babe Ruth, can walk out on a game and then refuse to explain why. When this series is over, I'm trading you off the club. You're through. All finished as a Yankee.
Oh, Babe, what's this all about? Where were you this afternoon?
Skip it, Steve.
Skip it? Are you out of your mind? Hug's fit to be tied. Unless you square yourself in a hurry, he'll do as he said, trade you down the river after the World Series.
I may not be around after the series.
What? What do you mean?
Gotta tell somebody about this. Look, Steve, you're not to print it. Or tell Hug. Promise me that?
Well, okay, Babe, shoot.
Well, when I came out of the hotel today to go to the ballpark, a fella stopped me. Just an ordinary-looking fella, but with 2 fingers missing on his right hand, like old 3-Finger Brown of the Cubs. He seemed awful upset about it.
Excuse me, Babe. I mean Mr. Ruth.
Oh, Babe's okay, buddy. What can I do for you?
It's my kid, my little boy. He's awful sick. Infantile paralysis.
Oh, that's too bad.
The doctor thought that... Well, my boy's a great fan of yours. He's got a scrapbook full of your pictures. The doctor thought if you could come over for a minute and see my boy, it might help him get well.
Oh, why, sure. I'll come over right after the game.
Oh, can't you come now, babe? It's just a few minutes from here, and I've got my car. I can get you back to the stadium in plenty of time for the game.
Okay, then, let's go. We walked over to his car. It was a sedan, and he opened the door. I started to get in. Then I noticed 3 other guys in the back seat. I didn't like their look, Steve, but before I could do anything, the fellow behind me gave me a hard push and sent me sprawling into the car. And then one of the guys hit me behind the ear with a blackjack.
Holy smokes, then what, Babe?
Well, when I woke up, Steve, I was in a room without much furniture in it. The guy with the fingers missing, who seemed to be the boss of the crowd, was there, and 3 other lads. There was a gravelly-voiced little guy who held a gun on me, and 2 gorillas had been in the car. Well, the boss one gave me a glass of water, and then he made his promise.
Okay, babe, the Yanks are 9-5 favorites to win a World Series. But they can't win if you don't try, if you don't hit any home runs. So I want you not to try.
You mean you want me to throw the series? Why, you dirty...
Stay where you are, big boy. I got a very itchy trigger finger.
You can't scare me.
Only a
Look,
jerk don't know enough to be scared sometimes, babe. You're no jerk, so listen. The Yanks are going to lose a series.
Eh? That's what you think.
I know. When they lose, you'll get $50,000. But if you cross us up, you'll get the business.
And how?
Well, babe, what do you say?
This is what I say, you dirty...
Why, you
I knocked the gun away from the squeaky-voiced guy, dropped the boss man with a right. The 2 big gorillas jumped me, and then the little runt hit me with his gun butt. Pretty soon I got the gun or blackjack on the noggin, and I went to sleep again. Well, when I woke up this time, Steve, they were dumping me out of their car up near Yonkers. I managed to pick up a ride, and you know the rest, Steve.
Holy cow. But, Babe, why didn't you tell that to Hug?
Oh, those mugs said if I did, they'd put a bullet in Hug, too. And I know they meant business.
Oh. Well, don't just sit there, Babe. Come on, we'll go to the police.
No, Steve. I don't know who those guys are or where they are. And even if I did, they deny everything. It'd just cause a huge publicity stink. And if we lose the series, it might kill baseball.
And what are you going to do?
What do you suppose? I'll do my darndest to win the series, of course.
But those mugs said they'd kill you if you did.
Oh, they were just bluffing.
Don't give me that, Babe. You said just before you were sure they meant business. Now, Babe, there's only one thing to do. You can't play in this series.
Are you kidding?
No. Your life is at stake.
Oh, save it, Steve. No lousy racketeers are going to scare me or dirty up the greatest game in the world either. Now, get out of here, please, Steve, and let me go to bed. I've got a World Series coming up tomorrow.
I'm convinced that most of the gray hairs I've got today started sprouting in that World Series. Every time the big fella made a hit, I caught my breath and listened for the sound of a pistol over the noise of the crowd. The games went to 3-3, and then the 7th and deciding game came up in the stadium. Oh, Babe.
Yeah? What is it, Steve?
Look, Babe, this is the deciding game. If you win it, you might...
Steve, let's not go into that again. Go on back up to the press box. I'm going out to right field.
Both pitches were hot, and they went into the 9th inning tied 1-1. Pennock set the enemy down in order in their 9th, and it was the Yanks' turn with the top of their batting order coming up.
Combs, get on there, Ryan.
Combs flied out, and it was Koenig's turn.
Koenig, get ahead.
Koenig went out in an infield roller, and then you should have heard the crowd as the big fella minced up to the plate, swinging 3 bats. The big fellow took a strike, then 2 balls, then he fouled off one. Then he took another ball. Here was the big one now. I found myself praying that he'd strike out and save his life. Then the pitch came, a fast one, and I closed my eyes. I heard a ringing crack. And the crowd went crazy. I opened my eyes to see the ball arch high and far into the bleachers. I was waiting for the sound of the shot, waiting to see my friend fall. My heart was hammering at my ribs as he turned third and started for the plate, taking off his cap to the howling mob.
And then I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I spun around. It was a man in a gray suit whom I'd seen in the stands throughout the series. Now he said,
"We got them, Martin."
You did, sir?
"Yes, all of them. Fingers Gerhardt, Joey May, his gravelly voice stooge, all of them. This was the only game they came to, the big one. They had betting receipts on them, and May had a gun. I think he was getting ready to use it on Ruth.
Good Lord.
The FBI was after those rats for a long time, but we got them at last, thanks to your descriptions and the big fella's courage."
I looked back at the field, and the big fella was just disappearing into the Yankees' dugout, surrounded by his happy, cheering teammates. He was safe, and my eyes got a little misty. The big fella had done the impossible again, and made it stick.
Hey! Oh, babe! Oh, you babe!
And there you have this adventure of Babe Ruth. Interesting and exciting, wasn't it? But so is life in the Naval Reserve interesting and exciting.
You can say that again, Jack. There's a young fellow in our block who a couple of years ago was spending his nights hanging around the corner drugstore or the pool room just loafing, doing nothing for himself or anybody else. Then he happened to get interested in photography, and knowing that the best photographic training in our town was being given by the Naval Reserve, he joined. And, Jack, you should see that boy today.
I wish I could.
All of a sudden, he's alive. He thinks. He doesn't waste his time. And like the Naval Reserve itself, he's a real solid asset to the whole community. And it all happened because this chap discovered an interest. And the Naval Reserve offered him the chance to make something of himself. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up as one of the greatest photographers in the whole country. It's good to see him moving up, Jack.
Yes, and that can happen to you, too. Training, education, good companions, fun, and relaxation. All those things are offered. Take advantage of them. Stop in at your local Navy recruiting office. You'll find that the officer in charge is a friendly man who'll quickly tell you how you can profitably spend your spare time in your hometown peacetime Navy, the United States Naval Reserve. By the way, Steve Martin, what have you lined up for next week?
Well, next week, Jack, I'm going to tell you how the big fellow returned to the pitcher's box to catch a rat and save a brilliant young catcher from the penitentiary.
The Adventures of Babe Ruth is written by Ben Peter Freeman, produced by Woody Close, directed by Ronald Dawson, and presented by the United States Navy. Play ball with Babe Ruth. Play ball with the Navy. The United States Navy brings you the adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the immortal Babe is the man who knew him so well, his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
When the big fellow ambled out to the mound to pitch batting practice one day, nobody suspected that he intended to catch a rat and save a brilliant young catcher from the penitentiary. But that's just what he did. We'll bring you the exciting story in just a moment. But first, a brief but important message from Jackson Beck. Come in, Jack.
Right, Steve. I just want to say a word about Navy officers.
Fine, Jackson. What's the word about Navy officers?
Well, I think they're a fine group of men.
Well, yes.
And they're leaders. They're taught to be. They're solid citizens.
Well, thanks, Jack.
But what I'm trying to say, Steve, is that young fellows with college degrees ought to think very seriously of the Navy as a career. And I don't care what kind of degree they have. There's a great and important place in the Navy for young doctors, for instance. For mechanical and chemical and electronic and civil engineers. There's a Navy career awaiting psychologists and physicists and lawyers. And I don't know any life that could be more pleasant than that of a Navy officer.
You got something there, all right, Jack. A Navy officer has social acceptance in the highest circles. He has a guaranteed income that's certainly equal to anything he could make in civilian life. He has good housing and complete and expert medical care for himself and all his family. And what's most important, he has a very real financial security.
For under the Navy's liberal retirement plan, he can retire in not so many years on an income that will be much more than adequate.
You college graduates, why don't you think about the Navy as a career? If you're interested and want full details, write today to the Bureau of Personnel, Navy Department, Washington 25, D.C. Or, if it's more convenient, stop in and see your local Navy recruiting officer. He'll tell you all you want to know and be happy to help you shape your career. And now, back to Steve Martin and the adventures of Babe Ruth.
The big fellow had an eagle eye for promising young ball players, and one spring he brought a rookie catcher, whom I'll call Bobby Lee, to the Yankees training camp. The kid looked great, which didn't please Duke Adams. You see, Duke figured to be the regular catcher that season, and he started trouble on the train while we were working our way north.
This kid, Bobby Lee, where'd you find him, Babe?
Oh, in some little league in Iowa, Duke.
Iowa? Last week you said Minnesota.
Oh, did I? Oh, maybe it was Minnesota. I was on a barnstorming
Lee
trip.
said you discovered him in California.
Well, I guess that's where it was then.
It wasn't. I looked through all the league records for California and for Iowa and Minnesota, too. There wasn't any Bobby Lee listed.
Oh, there wasn't?
Nah, he wasn't in organized baseball last year, or the year before either. You guys are lying, Babe.
Now, wait a minute.
You're trying to cover up something.
Look, I don't like being called a liar, Duke. Take that back.
Like fun, I will.
Okay,
You're a
then
liar.
you asked for it.
You bet I did.
You looks like that. Cut it out, you guys.
Well, I made a bad mistake, Steve, losing my temper with Duke.
What do you mean, Babe?
Duke's sore at me now, and he's sore at Bobby Lee for beating him out of the first-string catcher's job. He won't rest till he finds out the truth.
What truth?
Where I found Bobby.
Well, I meant to ask you about that. What's this big mystery about where you discovered him? And incidentally, where did you?
I can't tell even you, Steve.
Oh, why not?
You might talk in your sleep. And if Duke found out, it'd be just too bad for Bobby and for the Yankees.
I smelled a terrific story, but the big fellow stayed mum as a clam. A couple of days later, though, in Norfolk, the bomb exploded. It was in the Yankee clubhouse after the game. Duke Adams, coming back to his locker from the shower, suddenly began to yell his head off.
I've been robbed. Huh? Hey, somebody swiped my wallet. It was right here in my locker in my coat when I went to take my shower a couple of minutes ago, but it's gone now. There was $200 in it.
Well, maybe it dropped on the floor, Duke.
I looked all over. Some son of a gun swiped it.
Nobody swiped it, Duke.
How do you know, Lee?
Because my locker's next to yours, and I was right here all the time you were in the shower. Nobody came near your locker.
Are you sure, Bobby?
I'm positive, Babe.
Well, you must have lost it some other place, Duke.
No, I didn't. And I know the answer now.
Huh? What do you mean?
I should have figured it right away. Bobby Lee here stole my wallet.
Why, you rat... Bobby. Now, look here, Duke.
He said himself nobody else came near my locker. And he's an ex-convict, isn't he?
An ex-convict?
That's right. Lee was in the big house for burglary before he joined the Yankees. Do you deny that, Lee?
Well, I... No.
You hear that, fellas?
But I didn't steal your wallet. And if you say I did, I'll break...
Bobby. You're a louse for bringing that up, Duke, and for accusing a man without proof.
Maybe I can find the proof, Babe. Let's have a look in Lee's locker.
Go ahead, Duke. Search my locker.
That's what I'm doing. Now, wait, what's this? Here's my wallet. Lee stashed it in one of his shoes.
Well, I'll be... You planted it there yourself, Duke.
Why, you dirty lying cunt.
You framed me to get me off the club. But you can't get away with it. I'm going to make you admit it.
Oh, yeah? Well, how dirty you...
Now, look, here's the reason I asked Steve to bring you reporters in here. Bobby Lee served time for burglary, yes. The district attorney told me, though, he was convinced Bobby was innocent, and he took the rap to shield his kid brother. But even if Bobby was guilty, he paid the penalty and his slate is clean. Now, he's entitled to a sporting chance, isn't that right?
Oh, sure he is, Babe, but the...
Babe, he stole $200 from Duke Adams.
Oh, no, he didn't steal Duke's money. And if you guys will give me a chance, I'll prove it.
You will?
Yes, I will. I want you fellas to hold up the story of what happened in the clubhouse today for 24 hours.
Babe, it's a big story.
If you print the story now, Bobby Lee will be crucified. He'll go back to jail. The Yankees will lose the greatest catching prospect in years. But give me just 24 hours, and I'll prove Bobby is innocent. And I'll give you the real crook, too. What do you say, fellas?
All right, I'll go along with you, Babe.
So will I. Count me in.
Okay, fellas, that's it.
Now listen, Babe. You think Duke Adams framed Bobby, don't you?
Could be, Steve.
You do think so. But how do you expect to prove it?
Well, I'd rather not tell you yet, Steve. It's a long chance, and you'd think I was nuts.
Well, let me point this out to you. You put yourself on a hot spot, getting the club and reporters to hold off exposing Bobby, not having him arrested. If you can't prove he's innocent and he takes a powder, your name will be mud.
I know that, Steve.
But you're still going through with it?
You bet I am. You and the other reporters be at the ballpark tomorrow morning. We're having practice. You'll see the payoff then, I hope.
I was at the ballpark the next morning. So were the other reporters. The big fellow told us to stand behind the wire batting cage. Then he called all the players over.
Okay.
Hey, here's the Babe now.
Fellas, Hug's got a cold today. I talked to him, and we decided you guys need a hard batting drill. So I'm going to pitch to you.
You, Babe?
That's right, Duke. Any objections?
Oh, no, of course not. Why should I object?
Oh, you might have a good reason.
What do you mean?
You'll find out. Now, look, fellas, there's another reason I'm going to pitch batting practice. Bobby Lee was framed yesterday, and one of you guys framed him.
One of us?
Yeah.
Say, what is it?
Yeah, one of you guys. And I know who the guy is. Now, get this. I used to be a pretty fair country pitcher. I haven't pitched for a long time. I might be a little wild, especially when the rat who framed Bobby comes up. Okay, go on up there and take your licks.
I was puzzled and tense as I gathered with the other reporters behind the batting cage and watched the big fellow start pitching to the Yankee players. What was he up to? I was sure he wouldn't purposely hit Duke. He laid the ball in there, high, low, working the corners, and his control was as sharp as when he was the best southpaw pitcher in baseball. One after the other, the Yankees walked into the cage, hit three of the big fellow's pitches, and walked back to the end of the line. The tension kept mounting. There wasn't any kidding among the players, as there usually was. Then it was Duke Adams' turn. I felt a little chill run up my spine, and my throat got tight. Duke hesitated outside the cage, and the big fellow called to him.
Well, what are you waiting for, Duke? Get in there.
I got a crick in my back, Babe. I think I skipped this round.
You need the practice. Get in the cage.
But I tell you...
You're not telling me anything. I'm telling you. I'm in charge here today. Now get in there.
Duke walked into the cage nervously, tapped his bat on the plate. Babe stood out on the mound, glaring down at him, and he looked bigger even than he was. Then he wound up. A long, deliberate wind-up, and let fly. The ball rocketed in as if it was shot out of a gun over the inside corner and level with Duke's head. Duke jumped back a foot. He was pale as a ghost. The big fellow wound up and fired again, just a shade closer this time. Duke jumped back again, and Babe fired a third one, in the same place, so fast you could hardly see it. This time, Duke jumped back so hard he lost his balance and landed on the seat of his pants. Some of the reporters and players laughed, nervously. Duke jumped to his feet, shaking a little, and yelled at Babe.
You're trying to beat me. I got enough of this.
Get back in there, Duke. You've got to hit three.
Nuts. You're not going to kill me.
It's your guilty conscience, brother. I caught the corner of the plate every time. Hey, you reporters back there, am I right?
Yeah, we're right. That's right, Babe.
You hear that, Duke? Now get back in there and hit.
Duke had to walk back into the cage then, wiping the sweat off his face. The big fella grinned wickedly, then wound up and started to fire. 3 times the ball blazed straight at Duke's head, then broke sharply before it reached the plate and curved away. But each time, Duke hit the dirt. And the third time, he let out a howl, jumped up, and started out of the cage. His eyes were rolling wildly in his head, and he was shaking all over. Babe was off the mound like a flash and grabbed him.
He tried to kill me. He tried to kill me.
Ah, wait a minute, Duke.
Hey, let me go. You tried to kill me. I'm getting out of here.
Oh, no, you're not. Not till you admit the truth. You framed Bobby Lee, didn't you? You put your wallet in his locker yourself.
Let me go.
Didn't you?
Yes, I know.
We heard you the first time. Steve, get the park cop and take this rat away.
He's got it coming to him.
Babe, I still can't believe it. How'd you do it?
Simple psychology, Steve. I was sure Duke planted his wallet in Bobby's locker, figuring to make it stick because Bobby had once been in trouble.
Well, yes, but...
Now, a guy who would do that is not only a rotten sport, but he's yellow. So I figured if I got him into the batting cage and let him know I suspected him, he'd be sure those high, close ones were meant to kill him. But he had to stay in there because all your reporters said my pitches were over the plate. Quitting would be giving himself away.
But he lost his nerve and cracked up.
Right. Just the way I hoped he would, Steve.
Oh, babe, when your playing days are over, be sure to see me, will you? I know a detective agency that'll be glad to give you a job.
Yeah, I'll remember that, Steve.
Thanks, Steve Martin, for a very exciting adventure of Babe Ruth.
You're certainly welcome, Jack. But it's nothing compared to the everlasting adventures a young fellow can have as an officer in the United States Navy. To me, those are great words, Jack. The reward for having been diligent in college and healthy and moral. As a Navy commander, I'm probably biased, but that's only natural. But I can tell you honestly that I'm very proud to have associated with the men I have in the Navy and to have been an officer. I don't think there's a finer bunch of men alive. Believe me, the life and the security of a career as a naval officer are something very worthwhile to shoot at. Why, you have everything, Jack, whether you're a flying officer, a doctor, an engineer, or a chaplain. You've got good pay, a retirement plan that gives you everything you could get out of civilian life. You have social prestige, housing, expert medical and hospital care for yourself and family. And you have the very satisfying knowledge that you're an officer in the United States Navy.
Look, fellows, if you're college graduates in good health and can meet the Navy's standards of physical and moral fitness, you're eligible to become a Navy officer. For full details, write to the Bureau of Personnel, Navy Department, Washington 25 D.C., or see your local Navy recruiting officer. And do it now. Now, Steve Martin, what's on the grill for next week?
For next week, Jack, I'm going to tell you about a feud between an umpire and the big fellow, which almost killed both of them.
The Adventures of Babe Ruth is written by Ben Peter Freeman, produced by Woody Close, directed by Ronald Dawson, and presented by the United States Navy. The United States Navy brings you the adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the immortal Babe is the man who knew him so well, his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
The big fellow liked a joke as well as anybody. But once what started out to be an innocent gag boomeranged into a near tragedy, with the wildest results you can imagine. We'll bring you this exciting story in just a moment. But first, a word from Jackson Beck. Come in, Jack.
Okay, Steve, and thanks. Before you get to yarning about this particular adventure of Babe Ruth, Steve, I'd like to ask you just one question.
All right, Jackson. What is it?
Here it is. Why shouldn't a young fellow join the United States Naval Reserve?
What a question, Jack. He should. But if you want reasons, to begin with, there's the knowledge, the training, and education you get free in the Naval Reserve. In this day of high specialization, it's more important than ever that a young fellow who wants to go places should be absolutely perfect in his trade or skill, whatever it is. And perfection is what the Navy teaches. Teaches right there in that hometown peacetime volunteer organization, the United States Naval Reserve. When you join the Naval Reserve, you yourself choose which of the many naval skills you prefer to be trained in, and you go to work with other young fellows just as eager as you for the knowledge and that extra pay and all the other benefits of the Naval Reserve. For you see, Jack, naval reservists work with each other as a great peacetime hometown team. They play together, too, for the Naval Reserve sports program is the greatest in the nation. Study, play, companionship, perfect training, and a skill that will help to advance a fellow in his chosen career. Vacations often at sea. All that, Jack, plus the reservist pay and the security of the Navy's liberal retirement plan.
What you mean, Steve, is that there's no better possible way for a young fellow to spend his spare time, his evenings, and his vacations than in the wholesome, productive atmosphere of the United States Naval Reserve.
You're right, Jack.
It's America's hometown Navy, fellows.
It's America's peacetime fleet. And you who want to better yourselves should certainly visit your local Naval Reserve unit and find out personally the many reasons why you should serve in the Naval Reserve that Steve Martin hasn't time to tell you about now. Talk to your local Navy recruiting officer right away. And now back to Steve Martin and the adventures of Babe Ruth.
The Red Sox brought up a sensational rookie pitcher one year who promptly set out to burn up the league. The rookie, Don Brush we'll call him, won his first 6 starts, and 3 of them were shutouts. The Yankees saw him for the first time in the stadium when the Sox came in for a series. Brush was scheduled to pitch, and I was down on the field before the game with Babe and the Yankees, watching the new star warm up. Wow, that Brush is sure fast, Babe.
He sure is, Steve.
With him, Boston could beat you boys out for the pennant.
Yeah, if only I... Hey, I got it, Steve.
What?
I've been trying to think where I saw him before, and it just came to me. In Kansas last fall, when I was playing that vaudeville act, remember? Topeka, I think it was. You remember?
No.
Oh, sure you do. We just got into town. I'm pretty sure it was Topeka. And here was this big parade, band and all, coming up the main drag. Remember now?
Well, what have we here? Looks like the whole town is out to see you, Babe.
Oh, well, that's done, Steve.
You can't do that. Hey, take a gander at that drum major. Isn't he something?
Look at him strut. Hey, he's liable to pop the buttons. Hey, Steve, look! He did it!
No!
He burst his button! He's losing his pen! Yes, sir. That drum major who lost his pants in Topeka was Don Brush.
Well, what do you know? Yeah, you're right, Babe.
Bet I'm right. Hey, if you want to see some fun, just keep your eyes open during this game, Steve.
If the big fellow knew what he was starting, he would have cut off his arm before he did it. But he couldn't know. He just saw a chance for a funny gag, and he pulled it in the 6th inning when the game was tied up 0-0. Don Brush was setting the Yankees down. Only the big fellow and Garrick had hit him. But now with our pitcher up, the big fellow suddenly leaned out of the dugout and blew a little whistle.
Hey, Bryce! Hey, Don! Remember that day in Topeka? Yeah, remember when you lost him?
Don Brush on the mound turned red as a beet. And then, as the big fellow blew his whistle a couple of more times and waved a bat like a drum major, the rookie pitcher proceeded to blow up, but high, wide, and handsome. He walked our pitcher, then Coombs, then he uncorked a wild pitch. He walked the next hitter, and then uncorked 2 more wild pitches. By the time the Sox manager got Brush out of there, 3 Yankee runs had scored, and that was the ball game. When the Red Sox finished their series in New York and moved on to Philadelphia, the Athletics were ready for Don Brush. He started the first game there, and the boys in the dugout started blowing penny whistles at him.
Hey, Don! Hey, Brush! Remember when you lost him? Pull up, Don! Pull up!
Brush blew up the same way he had in New York. And then 4 days later in Washington, when Brush went to the Hill again, not only the jockeys in the Senators' dugout had whistles ready, but the fans did, too.
Number 12 is coming in to pitch for Boston. Brush is leading the game.
Well, it went like that all around the circuit, with the opposing players and the fans, too, waiting for Don Brush with their whistles. He started 4 times after Washington and blew up each time in the first inning.
Holy smokes, Steve.
This is terrible. It was when the Yanks came to Boston that a girl stopped the big fellow in the hotel lobby and pushed him into one of the little lounges.
Well, Mr. Ruth, I hope you're proud of yourself.
Huh? What do you mean, sister? Who are you?
My name is Nora Brush. Mrs. Don Brush.
Oh.
Well, look, Nora, Mrs. Brush.
What did Don ever do to you?
Oh, well, nothing.
And why did you have to ruin him? Break his heart and my heart and hurt our children.
Oh, now, wait. Listen, Mrs. Brush.
Don worked so long and so hard to get up to the big league. Then he was doing so well. They were going to tear up his contract and give him a new one, a big one. We were going to buy a house big enough for our 2 children. And then you had to spoil everything.
Oh, well, listen, Nora, Mrs. Brush, I didn't mean to start anything like that. I'd cut off my arm first.
I don't believe you. The great Babe Ruth, the hero of all the youngsters, hurting our youngsters, ruining their futures and their fathers.
Oh, now, wait. It might be all right yet. I've been thinking...
It's too late. Don has been waved out of the league.
What?
He's finished. And it's all your fault.
Oh, Mrs. Brush, just a minute. Steve, come on. I got to see Miller Huggins.
Now, let me get this straight, Babe. Are you actually asking me to claim Don Brush for the Yankees on waivers?
That's right, Hug.
You must be out of your mind.
No, I'm not.
Why, Brush hasn't finished a game since you called a turn on him in New York 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know,
and you
but
want me to claim him. I thought you had brains, Babe. I'd be the biggest laughing stock in baseball.
Listen a minute, will you, Hug? Don could be a great pitcher. He's got the stuff.
Sure, he's also got rabbit ears and a hide like tissue paper. You saw what happened to him.
I think I know a way to stop all that.
Oh, impossible. The whole league's got his number now, and the fans, too. He hasn't got a prayer.
He might have. Look, Hug, give me a chance to square this. Claim Don Brush, and if I can't cure him in the very first game he pitches, I'll pay the $7,500 waiver price back to the club.
Are you serious, Babe?
I'm dead serious. Will you do it for me, Hug?
I think you're crazy, and you're throwing away $7,500, but... Well, okay, Babe.
I thought the big fellow was crazy, too, but he wouldn't discuss it with me. The Yankees claimed Don Brush, and he joined the club in Detroit. And then Babe shocked manager Huggins again by asking him to start Brush right then and there.
Now I know you're out of your mind, Babe. If Brush has any chance at all, which I doubt, it'll be in New York, where our own fans might go easy on him. These Detroit fans will murder him.
Maybe, Hug. But if Don and I can lick his jinx where everybody's against him, he won't ever have any trouble again.
Babe, you've got some cockeyed idea. Now, what is it?
Well, it's a secret between me and Don. Look, Hug, pitch him tomorrow. And be sure to tell the reporters about it tonight. I want the fans to be ready for him.
That left Hug speechless, and ditto me. But Hug announced that Don Brush was going to start for the Yankees the next day. And by game time, the ballpark was a madhouse. Not only the Detroit players in the dugout, but practically every customer in the stands had a whistle. And when Don Brush walked to the hill to face the first Tiger batter, I thought my eardrums would crack under that noise. I felt a little sick because this was going to be a massacre. And then Brush began to pitch. I didn't believe it, and neither did the crowd. 3 straight strikes Don Brush had fireballed past the Detroit hitter. And now he proceeded to fireball 3 more past the second hitter, and then he got the third batter on a little pop-up to the box. And taking his time, fogging him in there, he seemed as cool as a cucumber. He stayed that way, too, all through the game, shutting out Detroit with just 2 scratchy hits, and beating them 5-0.
Well, Hug, you gonna fire Don and nick me for $7,500?
Oh, don't be silly, Babe. Don's going to win the pennant for us. But tell me, man, how did you do it?
Ask Don.
Well, we did ask him, but he won't tell us. He told us to ask you, Babe.
Well, I'll tell you. McGraw once had a player on the Giants who had rabbit ears just like Don. Well, he heard everything the fans yelled at him, and he'd go nuts. McGraw finally worked out a dodge. He told me about it when we were on that exhibition tour in Europe. So I tried out the same dodge on Don, and it worked.
What dodge?
Yeah, what was it, Babe?
Yeah, we'll show you. Hey, Don, come here a minute.
What is it, Babe?
Show these guys the gimmick.
Okay, I got it right here in my hip pocket. Look, fellas. What the... That's cotton. Cotton batting.
Uh-huh. You get it, boys? You see, with that cotton in his ears, Don couldn't hear the whistles and the yells or anything else. Simple, huh?
Well, I'll be...
Oh, baby, you old son of a gun.
Thanks for another exciting adventure of Babe Ruth, Steve Martin. And now will you tip us off about next week's yarn?
Sure thing, Jack. But are you certain you haven't something you want to say first?
As a matter of fact, I have, Steve. You young fellows who don't know what to do with your spare time and don't want to waste it, investigate the advantages of belonging to the United States Naval Reserve, won't you? And you veterans who want to keep your hand in your Navy skills, the Naval Reserve is the place for you, too. For there are courses in the many varied skills, and all of them with a civilian application, and every one of them taught to perfection. So there's training and education to be gained in the Naval Reserve. There's good companionship to be found, and a profitable use for your spare time, plus reserve pay and the many benefits of the Navy's liberal retirement plan. Why don't you join your hometown peacetime Navy, the United States Naval Reserve, and become part of a solid community asset and a member of the greatest crew in the world? It's a very profitable way to spend your spare time. See the friendly officer in charge of your local U.S. Navy recruiting office right away about how you can serve in the Naval Reserve. What's cooking in the galley for us next week, Steve?
Well, next week, Jack, I'm going to tell you about the time one of the roughest, toughest, and greatest ball players of all time said to the big fellow, "This league is too small for both of us, babe. One of us has to go, and it's going to be you."
The Adventures of Babe Ruth is written by Ben Peter Freeman, produced by Woody Close, directed by Ronald Dawson, and presented by the United States Navy.
Play ball with Babe Ruth. Play ball with the Navy. The United States Navy brings you the adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the immortal Babe is the man who knew him so well, his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
One of the roughest, toughest, and greatest ball players of all time once said to the big fellow,
"This league is too small for both of us, babe. One of us has to go, and it's going to be you."
We'll bring you the exciting story in just a moment. But first, here's an important message. The Navy Medical Corps is one of my favorite subjects. I know about that grand outfit from personal experience. In looking after the health of the men and women in our Navy, the Navy Medical Corps enjoys a reputation for outstanding professional efficiency. Of equal importance, however, is the advanced training, the wide research opportunities the Navy makes available to its medical officers. Navy doctors who desire to specialize in any phase of medicine, be it plastic surgery, public health, or pure research, they're given every possible financial and professional assistance. The Navy knows that better trained doctors mean healthier citizens. Not just in the Navy, but throughout America. Stimulating lifetime careers as Navy medical officers await qualified medical school graduates. Full information about a career in the Navy Medical Corps may be obtained by writing to the Bureau of Medicine and Surgery, Navy Department, Washington 25, D.C.
How can one find out all about it, Steve?
It's very simple, Jack. Just write to the Bureau of Medicine and Surgery, Navy Department, Washington 25, D.C.
And now back to Steve Martin and the Adventures of Babe Ruth.
Until Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs and crowded everybody else off the sports pages, Rocky Farr, the Tigers' great, rough, tough shortstop, never let on that the big fellow existed. And then one day in Detroit, Babe raced around second base on a long hit, trying for a triple. But as he turned second, Farr gave him the hit, knocking him off balance, and the big fellow was thrown out at third. Babe picked himself up and walked back to Farr. There was fire in his eyes.
Don't you ever do that again, Rocky.
Why? What did you do, big noise?
I'll fix your wagon, but good.
Go on, don't make me laugh.
You heard me. You give me the hip again, and I'll pay you back for all the dirt you've been dishing out all these years.
How about trying it right now?
Okay,
The big fellow cocked his right hand. And Rocky Farr put up his hands. But then while I, the fans, and all the players watched, Babe suddenly swung around and walked back to the dugout.
Go on, you yellow punk! Beat it!
Babe, I couldn't believe it. How come you let Rocky Farr rub your nose in that dirt today? You never backed down in a fight before.
Oh, I know how it is with Rocky, Steve. He's sore because I'm getting all the headlines and awards that he used to get.
Well, sure,
So
but
let him pop off. Why should I tangle with him and get fined?
Now, wait, Babe. You tangled with guys who didn't say half what Farr did. And who didn't give you the hip, either.
Yeah, I know, Steve, but not anymore. I've kind of grown up since that dinner.
Dinner? What dinner?
For the sports writers last winter at the New York Elks Club. You remember.
Well, I was on the coast last winter.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was on the carpet a couple of times last season, you know, for losing my head and getting into scraps. It was a tough race, and we were all keyed up. But at this dinner, Senator Jimmy Walker made a speech right at me.
Babe, no athlete, or any man, ever had the influence with the youngsters of America that you had. They look up to you as their hero and try to pattern themselves after you. That's a tremendous responsibility, babe, and you've got to live up to it. If you don't, you're letting all those kids down.
See what I mean, Steve? If the kids who think I'm pretty big stuff read about me brawling or breaking the rules, well, they're liable to do the same thing.
Well, that's fine, Babe, but if you let Rocky Farr push you around, everyone will think you've turned yellow.
Oh, no, they know better.
And there's another thing. The team folded today. They lost their fight when Farr pulled your nose and got away with it. They've been playing below par anyhow, and if you, their big gun, starts making like a doormat, the Yankees are finished.
You're way off base, Steve. We haven't hit our stride yet. But we will. And we'll win the pennant again. You'll see.
But this was one time the big fellow was wrong. In the sixth inning the next day with Detroit, the score was tied when Sewell and Babe both singled. Huggins flashed the steal sign, and Sewell and Babe both set sail. The big fellow hit the dirt and had the throw beaten. But Rocky Farr blocked him off the bag, then slammed the ball on his head and practically knocked him out. The big fellow staggered to his feet, raging.
Why, you ought to knock your block off, Farr.
Why don't you try it?
I'll come in spikes first next time. I'll cut you to ribbons.
You haven't got the guts. You're a phony blowhard, babe, and I've got your number.
Believe it or not, the big fellow took that from Rocky Farr, too. And right then you could see the spirit ooze out of the Yankees like air out of balloons. They dropped that game and the next two with Rocky Farr riding them high, wide, and handsome. And they continued to lose. By August, the world's champs were in 5th place. And I saw a news flash in my office that sent me rushing to the Yankees hotel. But when I got up to the big fellow's room, I found Manager Huggins there, and Hug was fit to be...
That's a fine thing. My pal. I make you captain of the team. I trust you. And you pay me by sticking a knife in my back.
What the deuce are you talking about, Hug?
Don't give me that innocent stuff, babe. You know and I know why the club's in 5th place.
Well, sure, we aren't hitting, and we aren't getting the pitching. I don't know why, unless it's said we were overconfident and started to coast after winning 2 flags.
Yeah, that's what you told the reporters. Well, it listens good, but not to me. We're down because you knocked the spirit out of the club. We're down because you want it that way.
What? Hey, now look here, Hug. I don't know what this is all about, but I don't like your talk.
It's straight talk, not double talk like yours. I just wanted you to know that I'm hip to what's going on, even if you have licked me. As far as I'm concerned, babe, you can go to blazes. And I hope you can live with your conscience.
Steve, do you know what Hug meant?
Well, sure, Babe. When you lay down to Rocky Farr in Detroit and went on being a tame tabby cat, you took all the fight out of the club. Hug thinks you did it on purpose, to knock the Yankees out of the pennant race.
What? Has Hug gone crazy?
Not exactly. Practically everyone picked the Yanks to win the pennant again this year, you know.
I know, but...
And when they started slipping, the wolves began howling for Hug's scalp. They'll probably get it, too. The front office hinted that unless the club takes a big brace, Hug will be fired at the end of the season.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. And get this, Babe. A Detroit paper today says you may be the Yanks' next manager.
Me?
Uh-huh. And they quote a Detroit player as saying you told him before the season opened that you intended to be the Yankee manager and that Hug was washed up.
Oh, that's a lie, Steve. I never said anything like that.
Well, I know you didn't. But that was the story.
What Detroit player said that about me, Steve?
He isn't named. But the paper says he's a star.
Rocky Farr. He must have said it. He's hated my guts ever since I began getting more publicity than he does.
Well, that's my hunch, too, Babe.
Oh, dirty, no good. He wants me to get loused up. Jimmy Walker was wrong. You can't be a nice guy in this game.
Sure you can, Babe, but being a nice guy doesn't mean being a sucker.
I should have seen that for myself, Steve. Hey, it's 12:30. Detroit is here today, and I want to have a little talk with Rocky Farr before the game. There's Rocky Farr now, Steve, just coming out of the batting cage. Farr! Hey, Rocky! Come here. Yeah? What do you want, babe? Did you ever hear the story about the worm that turned? Meaning what? Meaning that starting today, you'd better be a good boy. Don't pull any rough stuff on me, or on anyone else. Because if you do, I'm coming after you. You and who else? Just me. And that'll be plenty.
Okay, you've said your piece, now I'll say mine. This league is too small for both of us, big boy. One of us has to go, and it's going to be you.
You're going to find out different, pal. Today.
Yeah, peanuts, eh? Get your peanuts.
I was breathing hard when I got up to the press box, and it wasn't because of the climb. Something was going to happen, something big, and I wasn't sure of the outcome. In the third inning, with Babe on first with a walk, the hit-and-run sign was flashed. The Yankee hitter bounced one between first and second, and the throw went to Rocky Farr, who was covering the Keystone sack. It was a perfect double-play setup for Detroit. But as Rocky pivoted to throw to first, he saw Babe charging up the line. Rocky's lips curled back, and I caught my breath as he cocked his arm. I knew he was going to throw it at the big fellow's head, and from that face-to-face distance, he could kill him. But just before he let the ball go, the big fellow crashed into him like a ton of bricks and knocked him flying into center field. Rocky lost the ball, and by the time he recovered it, Babe came all the way into score with a yank behind him right on his heels. Rocky Farr was waiting under the stands for the big fellow after that game, as every reporter in the press box and every player on both clubs knew he would be. The big fellow kind of grinned, though, when he saw him.
You still need convincing, huh, Rocky?
I'm going to send you to the hospital, Babe.
Oh, no, you're not, Rocky. Your tough guy days are all over, as I'm going to prove to the boys here. So...
Shut up and fight! It'll pay a pleasure!
That fight should have drawn $20 ringside prices. It was a honey. Both boys went down half a dozen times, and both of them were bleeding. But the one who stayed down at last was Rocky Farr.
Attaboy, babe! That finishes him!
I don't think Rocky Farr will steal any more games from us, Hug. And I don't think you'll have to worry any more about the Yankee spirit. As a matter of fact, we might still win this pennant.
Well, if we do, babe, it'll be because of you. I want to apologize for what I said to you this morning. I found out it was Rocky Farr who put out those statements.
Sure it was, you dummy. Now maybe all you guys will let me alone.
All right, babe. You can go on back to being a nice guy.
Hey, Steve Martin. Thanks again for a most exciting adventure of Babe Ruth.
You're certainly welcome, Jack. Now you college men. If you can qualify young men, you can be an important part of a great American team, an all-American team, the select team of naval aviators patrolling the 7 seas, flying from carriers and far-flung ocean bases, living and making aviation history. It's a great life, a stimulating life with good pay, real opportunity for advancement, with challenges enough to stir the spirit of anyone. Today, the United States Navy is offering officers' commissions and the world's best flight training to healthy young Americans. It'll pay you to find out more about the Navy's flight training program. If you've had 2 or more years in college, you're eligible to become a member of this great Navy flying team. Get full information about the Navy's Aviation Cadet Training Program from any Navy recruiting office. Or write to NAVCAD, that's NAVCAD, Washington 25, D.C.
Yes, get full information about the Navy's Aviation Cadet Training Program from any Navy recruiting office, or write to NAVCAD, that's NAVCAD, Washington 25, D.C. Now, Steve, what have you got for us for next week?
Well, next week, Jack, I'm going to tell you about the time the big fellow defied superstition and his own teammates and took on a gigantic job that almost wrecked him.
The Adventures of Babe Ruth is written by Ben Peter Freeman, produced by Woody Close, directed by Ronald Dawson, and presented by the United States Navy. Play ball! Play ball with Babe Ruth! Play ball with the Navy! The United States Navy brings you the adventures of Babe Ruth. And here to tell you about the immortal Babe is the man who knew him so well, his pal, the popular sports reporter, Steve Martin.
Never change horses in midstream, say the wise men. And never change bat boys in the middle of a hot pennant race, say the ball players. But the big fellow defied tradition and took on a gigantic job that almost wrecked him. We'll bring you the exciting story in just a moment. But first, a brief word from your friend, Jackson Beck. Come aboard, Jack.
Okay, Steve, and thanks. I'd like to ask all of you young fellows a question. Do you know what adventure is? Well, it's what every red-blooded young American craves more than anything else. It's seeing and knowing the strange and exciting places of the world, the far cities where customs and dress and habits are different and challenging. Adventure is seeing new places, going new places. And the place to find adventure is in the United States Navy, where you get good pay, fine food, and the best of medical attention, while at the same time you know you're working toward real security with the Navy's liberal retirement pay. More than that, you have a chance to learn any one of many Navy skills, and learn them so perfectly you'd be in great demand in civilian life. So if you're over 17 and you want adventure plus these many other advantages, join the United States Navy. See the friendly officer in charge of your local Navy recruiting office and see him right away. And now back to Steve Martin and the adventures of Babe Ruth.
One of the unwritten laws of baseball states that when your team's winning, you don't make any changes in personnel or anything else. You mustn't even change your toothbrush. So when the Yankees, leading the league by a scant half game, were packing for their final western trip of the season, Babe Ruth practically started a riot when he walked into the clubhouse. He had a thin, pale, freckle-faced kid with him, about 14 years old.
Just a minute, fellas. Hey, fellas, quiet a minute.
Yeah, what's up, Babe?
Now, look, fellas, don't blow your tops. But it just happens that our regular bat boy, Eddie, can't make this trip with us.
What do you mean he can't make this trip?
So, we fixed it up, Eddie and I, for Tony here. That's Tony Bello, to make the trip and handle the bat. Tony knows all about being a bat boy, don't you, Tony?
Sure I do, Babe. You bet.
Now, just a minute, Babe. I don't like
go on
this.
outside now and help old Sam load the bats into a cab. I'll be out right away.
Okay, Babe.
What's the idea, Babe, huh? What'd you do to Eddie?
I didn't do anything to him, Red.
Oh, no? Then where is he?
Well, I don't know exactly.
The heck you don't. Eddie didn't say anything this afternoon about not making the trip. What goes on here, huh?
Look, I told you, Red. Something came up suddenly, and Eddie can't make the trip. So we picked Tony Bello.
Yeah. I mean, you picked him. A lot you care if we win the pennant. You get such a big salary now, you don't need the extra World Series dough.
Who said we're not going to win the pennant?
We can't win without Eddie. He's been handling the bats all through our winning streak. He's got to keep on, or the streak will be broken.
Oh, that's a lot of superstitious hooey.
Yeah, well, it's true, and you know it. But you can't get away with this, babe, so you'd better get rid of this Tony kid and have Eddie on that train,
I tell you, Eddie can't go, and that's final. And what's more, Hug okayed Tony to make the trip. So that's that.
Okay, babe, now we're alone. The players are in the diner. Come on, now give me the lowdown.
Well, I don't know what you mean.
Oh, yes, you do. You fixed it for Eddie the Bat Boy not to make this trip and for Tony Bello to take his place. Why'd you do it?
Don't ask me, Steve. I can't tell you.
Do you realize what you've done? You've turned the whole club, your own teammates, against you. If they lose the pennant, they'll blame you. They're saying already that you don't want them to win for some reason. And that kind of thing can ruin even you, babe.
We'll win.
I'm not so sure, no. Ball players are the most superstitious guys in the world. Why, without Eddie the Bat Boy, the team might start slipping.
No, this flag is in the bag. You'll see, Steve.
Well, it's 2 out in the first half of the ninth inning now, and the Yankees are behind 3-1. Well, it's up to Red Healy now, and here comes the pitch. Red swings, and it's an easy pop-up right behind the plate. The catcher's under it. He has it, and the Yankees lose.
Special to the New York World. Following 5 straight defeats since they left New York, dissension has broken out among the Yankee players. Babe Ruth seems to be the target of his teammates' resentment, and it is an open secret that he and Red Healy have engaged in 2 fistfights in the clubhouse. Unless a miracle occurs, the Yankees' hopes for a pennant this year are doomed.
I want you to send me back home, babe.
Send you home? Why, Tony, aren't you having a good time?
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, it's like heaven traveling with you and the Yankees. I mean, it was. But now the team is losing, and Red Healy says it's my fault. He says...
That Red. Now, look, don't pay any attention to him, Tony. He's in a slump. And when ball players are in a slump, they bark at everybody.
But he says I broke the Yankee luck.
Look, forget it, I said, kid. As soon as we cinch the pennant, Red will be patting you on the back and saying you're our mascot.
You mean we are going to win the pennant, babe? Even though we're down to second place now?
Of course we are, Tony. You're going to be the bat boy for a championship club. How's that?
Oh, boy, if you say so, babe, I know we'll win. Boy, am I happy. I got to get back to the clubhouse now. So long.
Now, what kind of baloney was that, babe? You know the Yanks won't win this year.
Oh, yes, we will, Steve. We've got to now, even if I have to carry the whole club on my back.
Well, that was just what the big fellow started to do. Carry the team on his back to victory. In Detroit, he personally won 3 games by larruping 4 home runs and 3 triples. Chicago, the big fellow led the Yanks to another 3 wins. And in St. Louis, he hit a homer in each game. The Yankees, looking as if they didn't believe it, swept that series and were tied for first place with the Red Sox. We went back east to Boston for a 3-game series that would decide the pennant and ran head-on into calamity. The big fellow broke up the first game with a triple, then had to be helped off the field. He'd given those spindly legs of his a terrible pounding in the last couple of weeks, and now he was out of the next 2 games.
Well, there's a high fly to left field. Lewis is under it. And he has it, and the Red Sox win. Now, if they win the final game tomorrow, and the Yankees, without Babe Ruth, will have to play a lot better than they did today to stop them, the Red Sox will be American League champions.
Our goose was cooked the day we started this trip when Babe ditched Eddie the Bat Boy. If the big fella hadn't got hurt in the first game, something else would have happened. He put the hex on us when he got rid of Eddie. And I say Babe did it because he didn't want us to win. He cooked up some deal for himself, I'll bet.
You're all wet, Red. What?
Hey, it's Eddie.
Yeah, it's me, Eddie. I'm here to tell you guys you're a bunch of bums and quitters.
What? What are you trying
The big fella gets you up to this big series, but when he gets lame from carrying the whole club, you lay down and quit.
Now, take it easy, Eddie.
You say Babe jinxed you when he got little Tony Bello to carry the bats instead of me. Well, I'm going to tell you why the big fella fixed it for Tony to make this trip instead of me. Tony's got rheumatic fever.
Huh?
He's going to die.
Oh, no.
Hey, you're not kidding, are you?
His doctor told Babe the only thing that could keep Tony alive a little longer was if he had some big thing to live for. Well, Tony was always crazy about the big fellow and the Yankees. So Babe got the idea of making him bat boy in this last trip. And he promised we'd win the pennant so Tony could be bat boy for a championship club.
Oh.
Babe would have done it, too, if you guys hadn't let him down.
Yeah, but why didn't the big fella tell us, Eddie, huh?
Because Tony doesn't know how sick he is. And the big fella didn't want to take any chances of his finding out.
Oh.
Do you know where Tony is now?
No, where?
He's in the hospital.
Hospital?
Yeah, the Babe's with him, trying to cheer him up. But Tony figures he's to blame for Babe not being able to play and for the Yankees to lose. You bright boys gave him that idea.
You know, we didn't know the Babe should have tipped us off.
Well, you know now. And get this. Tony's going to be listening to that game today on the radio. The game that'll decide whether he's a bat boy for a championship club or a gang of yellow soreheads. Now, which is it going to be?
Folks, what a ball game this is. The last of the 10th inning, Boston at bat and 2 Boston runners on the bases. The Yankees are leading 5-4 as a result of Babe Ruth's pinch hit double. These Yankees are playing fighting heads-up ball today just the way they used to. Those 2 stops by Red Healy, by the way, were nothing short of sensational. All right, here comes the pitch to Lewis, the Red Sox left fielder. And Lewis belts it. It's a line drive that's going for a hit. No, Red Healy was high in the air and spared that drive. Now he's running over to second base, and it's a double play. The game's over. The Yankees win the pennant.
Hey, Babe. Babe, how is he? How's Tony?
Doc says he won't last long, Red.
Oh, gee.
But look, Tony doesn't know it. And don't any of you guys let on.
Hey, don't worry, Babe. We won't. Right, look, can we see him for a minute, huh?
Yeah. Come on. Tony? Tony? Red Healy and all the rest of the boys are here.
Oh, hi, gang.
Hi, Tony.
We did it today, didn't we? Just like Babe said we would.
Yeah, we sure did, kid. And look, this is the ball we won the pennant with. We all autographed it, see? And we wrote on it. To our good luck bat boy, Tony Bello. Here it is, Tony. It's just for you.
Gee, thanks, Red. Thanks, fellas. I'll keep this ball as long as I live.
Thanks again, Steve Martin, for bringing us all another of your exciting adventures of Babe Ruth.
You're certainly welcome, Jack. It's one of the things that I enjoy most in life, talking about the big fellow and about the Navy. You see, my own experience in the Navy was so exciting and pleasant and adventurous that I think every red-blooded young man in the country over 17 ought to be part of it. It's the greatest fleet in the world, with the greatest ships and the greatest crews. I can think of no finer career for any young man.
I agree, Steve, particularly when a Navy man gets all the things that the Navy gives him. Excellent pay, a chance to learn one of the many Navy skills that are so valuable in civilian life. Good housing, good food, expert free medical care, and under the Navy's liberal retirement plan, a lifelong security after a few years of service. Then, if you fellows are interested in sports, as you probably are, you'll want to know that the Navy sports program is one of the biggest in the world. Navy men are playing baseball, football, basketball, any sport you can mention, ashore and afloat, all over the world. Sports are part of the regular Navy life. So think it over. The Navy can be a fine, profitable, and exciting career for you. Why not stop in and see the officer in charge of your local Navy recruiting office? He'll be glad to give you all the details. what have you got for us next week?
Well, Jack, next week I'm going to tell you about a screwball to end all screwballs. This character's name was Dizzy Coy. And before he finished one of the shortest and wackiest careers in baseball history, the Yankees and yours truly were pricing straitjackets.
The Adventures of Babe Ruth is written by Ben Peter Freeman, produced by Woody Close, directed by Ronald Dawson, and presented by the United States Navy.